I didn't mute the second screen. Pain. Hi, everybody. Charza will not be with
Oh,
us today because he is sleepy as shit. But I am joined today by one of our fans that watches here on the Fried Chicanery. I'm going to call her Wheezy, but she goes by TheAlabastard on Twitter.
yeah, it's a nickname. I work with a hockey team, and it's one of the nicknames the players gave me some years ago, and it just kind of stuck. So it's been my handle ever since.
And today is we don't really we have a structured topic. The entire idea was to bring Wheezy in because we talked about this the last time Charles and I went live and mentioned that we wanted to talk to somebody who physically can tell us about the real world reality of what it's been like to go through having a business before, during, and after the COVID vaccinations, during the COVID lockdown, and the entire medical I'm going to go ahead and use the word fascism that we've been experiencing. Because if anybody can tell me about how it's been being a business owner herself, she can. But at the same time, we're gonna shoot the shit about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. So business as usual. Do you want to go ahead and tell everybody about yourself, Weez?
Yes. So I am a sports therapist, which basically, in my business, we do a combination of massage, physical therapy, and personal training. There are some international certifying bodies that call it exercise therapy, but basically, I recover athletes from sports-related injuries. So that's my gig. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've owned my own practice for the past 12. Um, and that's basically, I am contracted currently to a major sports team where I work primarily with their players, and I do go on and off road every now and then, what they call a travel rotation. So I'm usually one of the ones with the team on the bus recovering them after games. So I have 8 employees currently, and yeah, that's it. Pretty much the basics of my business.
Hmm. Tell me about the day to day. When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that you end up having to do?
The first thing I end up having to do, coffee. Now, usually the first part of my day is just catching up with phone calls. Because we don't just see professional athletes. We see the weekend warriors. We see the semi pros. We see just people who really need recovery from even just like car accidents, stuff like that. So I go through my phone calls, I check my bookings for the day, I listen to see if any of my employees have called out for the day, if I have to get coverage for different shifts, the basics of running a client-based business.
Mm-hmm. And when you first started I'll phrase it like this. When you first started introducing yourself to the brain damage that is Twitter, how how did that bring you to my doorstep? How did I sway you over? Because you've told me this before, but I never got like the full breakdown of exactly well, you did tell me the moment, but like the impression of what eventually brought you to become a fan of mine.
It was a number of things. I mean, it's what ends up happening is, to me, what happened to a lot of people that were just normies, so to speak. I we Politics kind of, that old Saturday Night Live skit, with the van by the river where he crashes onto the table.
Yeah.
That's what politics did into most of the normies' lives. That's where we were at, and we were, and when you're in a situation with most of the place where I am, most of the people around me are very, very like uber white liberal,
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself just kind of questioning things and not thinking like them. And nobody was saying the things I was thinking. And then at some point, I found my way onto various places of Twitter, one of which was your stream. And you were saying the exact things I was thinking. So I kept watching and I kept going and I kept And the more you kept talking, the more I kept like, yes, yes, yes. And I just kind of stayed from there. I mean, that's the Cliff's Notes version.
The grooming was successful.
Yes, it was.
What was the first stream that you picked up?
The first stream that I picked up, it was more of just your Twitter. I think that you had commented on something on Short Fat Otaku's channel, and I also follow. You probably know British Knight. I follow him
Yes.
too, and you would be commenting in these comment sections.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go check out his Twitter. And there was several different videos on there, and I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, okay. And I started watching like Fried Chicanery and a couple of your other, Twitch streams and things where you break down what you're thinking about. Oh, this person's cope. Some of the stuff about Shark, like just watching these things. And the more I watched, the more I was like, okay, this guy has balls. And it was more of a you did the one thing that I've never done myself was that like you didn't back down. You'd never ever backed down, and you just were like, "Oh, you want to call me out? Well, no, I really do think this, and here you go."
Mm-hmm.
So
I was actually describing this to somebody at work the other day because, oh boy, when I first got into my job, people were not sure about what kind of person I was because realistically, I went in there with a whole bunch of day shift energy. So there was like an overnight shift, 12 hours a day, standing on our machines, operating them. And here comes this happy, smiley, smug-ass motherfucker who's like, "Hi, I'm Carl. What you doing? How are you? How was your day? How is that? Why is that?" And they're uncomfortable because who is this man? Who is this nigga? Why are you so happy? Stop it! Be mad! I want you upset! Are you just like this all the time? And it's like, yes. Yes, he is. He's always like that. And it's not like roboticism. It's not like I was just a robot and I couldn't feel emotions. It's just a person who you don't know if they're insane or if that's just how they are. And you're scared to say something mean to them because you have no idea what they're like. Like, is this them when they're happy? What are they like when they're upset? So they had to actually have these side conversations that I wasn't aware of, but I had a friend who would tell me, and it's like, no, they think, oh God, the first day of my job, one of my coworkers thought that I was hitting on her because we were having a conversation about things, and she was basically telling me her life story. And I just basically was listening, and I was interacting with her and talking about it. We came to a conversation about why people who could date certain kinds of different alternative lifestyles could not be able to be inside of a world surrounded by people who work around porn stars, who work around the sex industry as an entirety whole, and who have specifically done porn themselves. Which, if you saw that tweet that I made the other day, clowning on fucking Violet Myers, I can't even show that on screen, folks. But if you know the team I'm talking about, you can find it in the Discord. We were basically having the breakdown of that conversation, and the conversation was not like, "Hey, what's your favorite porn?" So that was not the conversation we had. And I know because we actually had to talk to our leads about this, and we worked the situation out. We can laugh about it now. But what happened was, she was explaining to me how through her life she had worked jobs where she was basically in a cutthroat environment working for corporates and doing the same kind of job that I did on the side, working for corporates. Because I started working for the government, then I got into private contract work, then I started doing retail for the public, and I was a public servant while also being a private contractor. So I was diddling my heads in like 3 separate parts of life. I was a public figure, I was a private security person, and then I was a private citizen living in public, doing a thing before I ever became a streamer, or stepped fully into being a streamer, because it was always a hobby on the back burner. You know, one of those things that after I go through college, and while I'm working through college, this is the thing that I'm going to do, this is the career choice I eventually want to make. But I wasn't there yet. So, at this point, now, in the future, I'm doing this at the same time, and my job is talking. I have to talk about things. There is no topic that is off limits for me, because I can talk about everything. I can illustrate and I can illuminate a conversation simply by opening my mouth and utilizing the guttural noises that my throat makes. Because as a voice actor, I know how to make things humorous. And as a comedian, I know how to make things humorous enough to be entertaining for somebody else. I can make a topic interesting. Or I can at least attempt. I can try. get into shit posting fests on Twitter that then become shouting matches between people trying to talk over content. It's like, fuck all that bullshit you're talking about. I'm gonna actually tell them what the real thing is going on here. Because it's always been subterfuge whenever it comes to people talking about topics. You can have people who are honest, like Dev, who will just talk about an issue from the political angle or from the entertainment angle and how that affects this, because that's mostly what we're going to be doing here and what we're talking about, because that's what I wanted to talk to you. I don't know shit about the fucking fitness world, so let me go to someone who knows. And people...
And that's part of what happened with me, is that I commented on something on Twitter, and I used it a little bit for work. Like, the main thing that the fitness industry uses is Instagram, but that's a whole other rant.
Oh yeah.
But I made a comment after what the thing that we'll be talking with happened, and it exploded. Somebody else, Bosch, by the way, retweeted me. And another man by the name of Jangles the Science Lad, who consistently retweets me from a block wall, by the way, on my business account, to trash talk me about, about how I don't know what I'm talking about. A man who calls himself the Science Lad, but actually does deadlifts in just a pair of socks. To somebody who works for a professional sports team that they don't know what they're talking about in terms of fitness and athletics. Because I was discussing something with someone else about the trans sports debate. And that's where between those two things, like Steph and my views on the whole trans women in sports thing, of how there is a potential that they do have, and there are studies that show that they do have the advantage. Having this discussion meant that now I'm on the radar of people that I had no idea who they are. But that also led me to libertarian Twitter. So, it had its good. I found that there are people that actually think like me, people like you, people like BK, that I financially support the streams whenever I can. So, and I appear Friday nights on a libertarian stream that's kind of not particularly public, but it's, for our little group. And so I found my way to people that do have more of a libertarian kind of minarchist thinking. So it did have a positive outcome, but I got a kind of very close personal view of what cancel culture can look like. And I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. And then you and I actually started discussing it. So.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever said what my political affiliations are, and I don't have any. I'm apolitical as fuck. If I had to pick something and someone's like, no, you must pick between these and the Hungry Hammer and the Commie Sickle, I am somebody who wants people to have freedoms and liberties. I don't want to control people, and I also don't want people to control me. That's basically it. As long as you're not holding a gun at my face, if you want to say, hey, Carl, let's go have some fun, cool. If you say, Carl, leave me the fuck alone, cool. If you say, never involve myself with me and my children again, I'm like, well, I don't have to fuck with you, but they gonna have to make that decision themselves, because maybe they want a little bit of the mighty chocolate. But as long as I get to do what I want, and as long as you have the freedom to do what you want, never the twain shall meet. We good. Because when I started, I just wanted to play video games. And now, y'all motherfuckers made me into the monster you're terrified of. So now you have to try and destroy my career because you know you have nothing up your goddamn sleeve. And we'll get there, but to finish the story I was telling. Basically, we were talking about porn stars, and that porn stars cannot date normal people because normal people will not understand the kind of emotional depth you need to have to be able to see your partner get railed or be railing women and men, and you be okay with it. Like, the one that I think I mentioned to her by name was specifically the couple Ladyfire and Lasfire. There are a couple of amateur porn stars that created shit on their own and made their entire industry and business, and they work with all the other people who are amateurs too. I think I have a porn star who follows me who now has made her premiere as Lay Page with her and her husband, but was under the name Big Butt Booty 96. It's an entirely different world and different perspective. But realistically, it's no different in comparison to the difficulty of being a porn star to being a streamer. You have the same level of exposure. You have the same level of people looking at you funny, because the same way people look at porn stars is the exact same way people look at streamers. Or, if you want to be exact, how they look at Twitch streamers. How they look at content creators in general, but specifically how they look at the new age cutting edge of content creators. They just use new people who aren't people who have principled positions. They don't know shit about what they're talking about, but because they latch their personality as a talking head who talks about that one thing, and then maybe they do some video games on the side as like B-roll footage to play over their hot takes, like Vosh or Hans,
Yes.
specifically Vosh or Hans. And they are affiliated to whatever fucking group they are a part of, whether they be the 2014 skeptics that no longer exist in that real view, you know, people like Shoeonhead, people like Coach Red Pill, or they're old fags that have fallen off, you know, like Mr. Mediker, who has completely fallen off the plot and doesn't have anything left because he just had some wild opinions and couldn't actually handle having his own technique turned on to him. Look into Dr. Ramrikam's take on Bully Hunters Exhibit C, the breakdown of that. And then, you know, people like the Honey Badgers themselves, you know, Dr. Ramrikam, Typhon Blue, Hannah Wallen, the Prim Reaper, all the people who would be part of the quote-unquote men's rights movement. Everybody from your red pill pickup artist side of YouTube and old content creators like that, people like Coach Red Pill. Ironically enough, fucking Talcum X and Mr. Wash his ass himself.
Talcum X.
Yeah, Sean King and fucking Tariq Nasheed finding themselves in this matrix. And then people like the people who you will more regularly recognize, you know, like Pierre XO. People who you expect to see whenever a video about Jubilee goes viral, because he's been in them before and he talks about shit that they make. But more people like Pierre XO, but more specifically people like Abba and Preach. People like that, and people like me, and people like Dev. And then when you get into the Twitter heads that you recognize, people like Dunlap Courage, sports reporters like Richard Lewis, Dustin Thorin Shields, Rod Slasher Breslau, although Rod is a little bit on the fucking wire. And one time he goes viral, it's because of something he did with an e-girl, not specifically just because he was on Fox defending the gamer position. All of these names and all of these individuals, and then you get into the e-thoughts, you know? Smuguroko! Because I have to mention it, because you cannot talk about Single Player Carl without mentioning the fact that Single Player Carl was the intelligence behind Smuguroko. But Smuguroko, Yang Yi, Upper Echelon Gaming, Random Monkey, The Matriarchy, That Star Wars Girl, Nerdrotics, Geeks and Gamers, Just Some Guy, Ethan Van Skyver, your boy Zach, Richard Meyer, all of these people and all these things and all these networks, you know, people like Dankula and people like Sargon, all of us are fitted into a hodgepodge at the same time with all these Twitch thoughts, like, trying to remember her name, Natalie Casanova, the Zombie Unicorn, Indie Fox, Amaranth, Pokimane, Nicolol, Bad Bunny, Invader V. We get thrown into a hodgepodge with all of these individuals, and then people that were from old YouTube, who started from the beginning. People like Linus. When he said, and I quote, "I always have to wonder if whatever bullshit happens came specifically from someone behaving badly on Twitch." Something I've said 50 billion times, and I'm gonna repeat saying, the same way that both myself and Charza said on the last stream. And I have to wonder if something's happening because of the people who are on these platforms, and whether or not something is going viral because somebody did something stupid, and they're down bad for it on Twitter. It's always a concern in the back of my head that when somebody introduces themselves to me and they say, "Hey, I'm a Twitch streamer," I have to wonder, is he one of the bad ones? Is she one of the bad ones? That's why that exists. That's why that happens. That's why when I started out in the beginning, even though I didn't have the personality push behind me like myself like I did then, because I had somebody's death around my friends, one of my best friends, the man who actually pushed me into getting back into doing this shit again, died. And you can tell there's a grand difference between my personality and how loose and bombastic I've become since. This was the running thought in my head. If I have to become a creator, the last thing I ever want to be is somebody who has to lie about the world to make money. I can make money doing whatever I want. If I choose to be a streamer, that's fine. If I choose to be a streamer who doesn't talk about politics, that's fine. If I choose to be a streamer who doesn't talk about politics and I play video games and I break shit down in a social commentary format, that's fine. Rather than just being a streamer, that makes me a content creator. And rather than just being a content creator, that makes me a culture critic. Because I'm talking about things that I care about. These are the things that are my culture. I am a hard R gamer. I grew up and I played video games as a hand-me-down and had to be given things that we couldn't buy because we were poor. Technically, we had a mother who worked for the federal government and a father who was a naval sailor, but he was spending all our cash to fucking cheat on my mom and then brought us to the South so he could abandon us. So, we effectively had to always live on a line of upper to lower middle class poverty. I had to fight and scratch and scrape for everything that I got, and at no point in my life did I ever feel that I had to be dishonest. But there was a point in my life where that was what I was. I was on the track to becoming a piece of shit. And I remember the exact moment that did not happen. Might actually go into a video when I break down the shark bullshit, but I was inside of my barbershop. One of the barbershops I used to have my hair cut at, that my mother would take me to. And the barber that was cutting my hair is now the trainer that teaches his kids and teaches the new students at the barber school of Barber and Beauty. And his name was Mr. Rayner. Mr. Rayner was a tall, lanky Jamaican man with the flattest fucking kid and play haircut that you can imagine. Just, that edge up was so razor sharp for his top of the head, you could possibly balance a piece of wood on it. And it would not move. And he had Jamaican pies in the back of his store. And when I figured that out, I was eating his Jamaican pies. Because shit, I'm hungry. And you got food. You good for it. But one day he catches me. And I expected him to grab his broom and start beating the shit out of me. Because I know how Jamaicans are. I hear him when they start screaming blood clot. But what he did instead was, he didn't get mad. He didn't even tell my mother. He just looked me in the eye and said, "Now listen to me, Carl." Or actually, no, he said, "Listen to me, Eugene," because I wasn't going by Carl by then. I was still a teenager. "Listen to me, Eugene. One of these days, you're going to wish and you're never going to want to steal again. And there will be a time where you will never have a compulsion to take from anyone." And when I became, fly in my face, when I became a streamer, that was the exact moment that I said to myself, I want to build something. I don't want to take from other people. I don't want to be a detriment on society. Not even in my entertainment do I want to make something that does not have a value to someone. If I'm going to do shit to entertain myself, I need to entertain not just my audience, but also myself at the same time. And I need to enjoy what I'm doing when I do it. Because I don't want them to give me money by just being another one of these pieces of shit that doesn't do anything that amounts to anything. Because if I'm going to go tell somebody something that they should do, I should be willing to do it myself. Because if I don't live my full self honestly, and I tell these people to go do something that I'm not willing to endanger my life to do, not only am I a piece of shit, but I'm a piece of shit who's a dishonest asshole. And I can't do that. I can't be false to myself and to my audience. You could have that face where you're not completely honest, and you're, well, not, let me rephrase that. I can have the two faces where I have the private and the public persona. And we were talking about this off stream. I can have the public and private face, but I cannot live a lie. Can't do it. I don't want to take from people. I want to build it myself, but more importantly, I can't lie. If I see some shit, I'm going to have words for it, but I'm going to be truthful. And I'm going to live my meaning every single second. If for a single moment, I think someone has lied to me, and I have told bad information, even when it comes to like video games, like, oh, I discovered some shit that it works, and I figure out that it doesn't, I'm going to do the utmost best I can to repair and fix what damage I have done, and ensure that when people mention the name of single player Carl, when people say, hey, you know about Carl, their first words out their mouth isn't, oh, that lying piece of shit. No, instead it's, oh yeah, I know about Carl. He's a piece of shit. Or, oh yeah, I know about Carl, that asshole, he talked shit about me, and then he made videos about it, and then he fucking put it on his Twitter, and then he put it on his YouTube, and then he put it on his Instagram, and then he put it on TikTok! At least, when they say shit about me, they're telling the truth. Because I don't lie. I don't have to lie. That's the difference. Mention somebody like Voss Johan's by name, and you look at things he makes. Doesn't believe a goddamn thing coming out of his face. He believes truth is not win from power. He's willing to lie to his audience in order to get them to give him money. He believes that people should open up socialist communes and co-ops to give people ownership over their business, but he runs his business like a hyper-capitalist. He's not willing to live his principles and his means, because if he lived his principles and his means, he wouldn't be rich. Or if he was rich, he would not be as rich as to then make a stream where he will give money to glass his state of choice. Because he wants to be an edgelord on the internet, but at the same time knows and is not dumb and knows that he has to say the correct thing to get money from the correct audience, and I don't want to do that. I am a salesman that sells Carl and Carl accessories. I don't sell lies. So when it comes down to when it comes down to that, and then when it comes to looking at this deluge of bullshit that happens every day and every week, if I was to lie, I wouldn't even be able to keep the lie straight. I'll be real with you. If I had to lie, I wouldn't be able to keep the lie straight. So, I make shit that I think people would like to enjoy, and inadvertently, you're here, so I must be doing something right.
Exactly. You got at least one. You got at least one convert.
But then, when it gets down to shit like, to steer us towards the conversation topic, when it gets down to shit like COVID, when it got down to the coof itself, when it first happened, I'm like, oh, here it goes. Here's that virus that's gonna kill us all. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, no, actually, this isn't that dangerous. Because my mother is a medical professional. She is a doctor in her own right. And that's when I realized, oh, this is just a normal coronavirus? So, like the common flu. This is just going to be just like the common flu. But maybe 10 times worse. The common flu? I got sick. I got allergies. Coronavirus? I'm sweating. Feels like water filling my lungs. But if I keep myself safe, take my medicine, I don't be stupid, and I don't do something stupid like, hey, let me go to the gym and be around other people who are sweating body fluids. Don't do anything stupid like that. I'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be okay. We were not okay. And now...
We were not.
And now that we've lived through it, and we've lived long enough to see the government walk back opinions and ideas that they have banned people for, and things that have gotten people killed.
It's infuriating.
Mind-bogglingly upset. More than just normal. Because we can get into your story with Mike, and if you don't feel like telling it, you don't have to. But let me tell you my...
Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, but let me tell you my side of that. From the beginning, when it started, I said, I'm gonna stay indoors. I don't go outside for shit anyways. I can save money and not spend my money going on dates with random women. Just because I feel it's fun. Because the year before, I just quit Tinder. But I still had a group of people, and I have a group of people that I talk to that are within my town, or people who are living anywhere on the goddamn globe. And whenever they're passing through, it's like, hey, Carl, you want to go out and do some shit? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go do some shit. First thing I cut was that. Didn't go down to the bars. To save my bar money. I don't have to spend money to go pick up women, or pick up men, and go back to their houses with them, and do hoe things, and then have to take an Uber and get back to my house. So, that's money that I save. I don't have to go out to bars to buy their expensive ass food that I can make twice as better for 5 times less the cost. That's money that saves in my pocket. I can enjoy my time playing on my stream, and doing bullshit, and working my way to grow this empire. Another thing that I can do, I'm just ticking shit off my list that I can cut out. Easy. Easy as shit. Everybody else around me is panicking. I already had my shit stocked up, so I have 6 months of food in here. The only thing that I needed to consistently get in here is pasta. Because everybody in this house eats pasta. And they kept eating my pasta. So I had to get more. And then, I lose the job that I was working at. That's related to the smug shit, but basically, a personal friend of mine, Amy, was the angel investor for Smug's stupid-ass business for Escape Zero, which was her way of trying to get attention off of her, after her and Jake from what I call the cornfield, but specifically his business with Hannah, formerly Hugo, under the names Hugo and Jake, now under Hannah and Jake, but formerly as the Bible and the Quran Reloaded, to bread tubers that have never been able to make it past like this weird limitation between 100,000 and 500,000 subscribers. People who are bread tubers out and out. They call themselves lip soaps. Super soaker lip soaks. And their views are exactly what you expect from BreadTube. They have no principles whatsoever. They just say what they need to get people to give them money. She went onto a stream with them where she basically was caught down bad, but realistically, he manipulated information behind the scene. He was turning mics on and off, and he was trying to push the conversation where he wanted to go. And me, being somebody who watched YouTube from 2008 to 2014, at least, actively, I knew he was full shit. So, it's a stream on my channel that people can go look up. The Big Papa and the Fam, where I basically went live and I baited him into going onto his stream, broadcasting it specifically on Twitch. Because that's the way that these guys stream their shit. They stream onto a platform where they can then erase the VOD and then take clips out of context after downloading their stream to make content off of. So they can try to monetize the public. And I just did to him what he did to everybody else. And he was fucking screaming and scorching mad because of it. And he continues to be to this day. And I poke the bear sometimes occasionally, just for the fun of it. But her way of trying to overcome that was to try and make her own outlet in the style of Kotaku or Polygonish Destructoid Raw Piper Shotgun by the name of Escape Zero. Supposed to be what she was going to do to try and make manga reviews and anime reviews, and she was hiring people off of Twitter that were in her mutual circle to do it. Some of the articles there were good, but not the ones written by her. She was very much, and is very much, a normie who just has the double persona. She has some shit about her, Elizabeth. That's her real name, by the way, not Lori. That's a fake name. Elizabeth is her name. She had some cope that she had to deal with, mainly because she had been a part of a group of people on the internet called the Duwang Gang, which were her personal IRL friends, that basically set her up and framed her as a pedophile with this person called Alex Segal, this dingy Nega Carl looking motherfucker, and I have to call him Nega Carl, because bro, he is like me, but fat and not interesting. But that's what that was about. She made that business, but she did it off of Amy's money. Amy gave her the money and gave her a little bit extra on top to pay employees like me. She did not do that. She used that money to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And then just expected us to just not have standards. So I leaked that to the farms, because I had already been a lurker there for years. And then she became unraveled from that, because it's like, oh my god, you betrayed me. I'm like, bitch, you're not even my friend. I was friends with your boyfriend. So, like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have no loyalties to you. I am an employee. You've been taking my opinions and my ideas, and you've been using them as your own. That's fine. That's part of this contract that I'm allowing to have happen. It's a little bit of a mixture. At the time, it was, I have no platform of my own. Yes, I have a YouTube channel, but it literally had 21 fucking subscribers. Twitter had 11 followers. I have to start from rock bottom, and I have to do so amongst all of these giants. I equivocated it at the time. It's a little bit different now. At the time, I equivocated it to having, like, a street cart. I have this little fucking rinky-dink street cart, and I have to stand up against all these brick-and-mortar outlets of entertainment and humor, with years and years of history and years of contribution and crossovers and platforming and establishment creativity, while also fighting the soulless corporation that has a megacorp headquarters in my city. And I have to push my little rinky-dink cart of Carl and Carl accessories up and down the block saying, comedy, spare comedy here, you want to laugh, would you like a joke, sir, please, sir, with a little money in the hat, sir, to try to buy a new cart, sir. So why not be a ghostwriter for someone, and through them, the things that I want to bring attention to, that I care about, will have a voice. Someone will see it. Rather than probably nobody seeing it, because, who the fuck wants to listen to a person who's small? At least if it's seen through somebody who has somewhat of a presence. Didn't know that she was buying bots. If I knew that shit, I probably wouldn't have done it either, but if, even at the time, because I had considered it really heavily, because during this time period, because that shit happened, I lost my job at the place that I was working at. It was just a little fucking pizzeria place around the corner from my house. because I had to move from one house to another so I could be able to buy my forever home with my family, with money that I saved up from when I was 12, working all the way to, at the time, in 2018, I would have been 24, because I'm 26 going on 27 now, this year. I'll be 27 this year. So, from 12 to 24, I earned enough money to be able to not only just buy the quit claim deed to my original home that my father moved us in here in the south where I live, but I bought the money for that, paid for the attorney, lost the case in which we were fighting for permanent ownership of the house from, because my father was a veteran and he played the veteran card even though he was full of shit. Lost that, and then had money on the side left over to be able to go like 65, 45%, but I'll say halvesies with my sister to buy a new forever home. That's how much money I had saved up on the back. But that was shit that had to be piled away. I had to calculate it out. During all of that, I'm still working with the same laptop that I had when I went to college in 2012, at 2013, and then 2014 before I eventually dropped out in 2015-16. So here I am with old shit, having to rock it against all of these giants, and in front of me, I see somebody who gets a couple 1,000 likes on a tweet post every few often, and at least even when the shit posting, and I think that it doesn't have likes on it, because I have media management experience, here I am looking at this person, building the thing up, making the thing work. And the light bulb goes on in my head, and I'm like, yes, this is it. This is how Carl wins. So, she starts taking my opinions and ideas, and because I'm lurking on the forums, and lurking on Facebook, and lurking on Twitter, and lurking on 4chan, and lurking on Reddit, I learn how we actually do things as a media conglomerate. How to archive, how to do fact-finding, how to do research, how to ensure that the story doesn't just get outright dismissed and buried by meta-narratives, how to detect a meta-narrative, how to do the basics of journalism without ever needing to pay a single fucking dime. By the time this goes along, my growth is starting to track up. Now, instead of a rinky-dink cart, it's a street van. I can drive around in the bitch, take a chill at things, say hi to the neighbors. But I don't like the shit that's going on here. And over time, it starts to become very obvious to me that there's something wrong with her. Lo and behold, she's the e-girl that got In Miles Chungus fired when he was working with, and I didn't even know it at the time, with the Quartering, because he was embezzling money from Jeremy of the Quartering in order to give her shit so she could buy shit like video games and new phones and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The same shit she did with the money she gave to Amy. And this was around about, say, October, November, rolling into December. Working at the factory is what I was, well, actually, no. Last December I was working at the factory. Before then, this was Uptown that I was living in the city where I live in, of non-disclosed origin that I can't say. And when this shit starts happening, she's having a meltdown in public and in private. Because anybody who's been here, we all know about the Negroid moment. So we're not even gonna fucking go through the fucking thing with that. We already know, we've been known. If you don't know, read the thread. If you haven't read the thread, congratulations, welcome to the internet. Shitposting gets wild. That shit happens. And at that point, I block her on everything, because I told her, listen, you can't fucking handle your problems. You're fucking stupid. Everything you've ever done is dumb. I cannot be friends with you. I can't even be business partners with you, because you can't even uphold your side of a contract. Since you cannot be trusted, I have to cut you off, and I have to destroy you, because you have been misrepresenting everything and every principle I believe in. So since you have decided to make an enemy of me, let me show you what I do to my enemies. She has not recovered since. She's tried to recover by going and starting new identities, but then she gets caught because, well, if you've been on the Kiwi Farms, you know how the Kiwi Farms are about people. And briefly to mention on the Kiwi Farms, I have no problem with them. It's a website. It's a shitposting website just like all the other websites. The only difference is that they archive things. So when you say, oh no, that's not real, they say, is this you? That's it. Now, I have opinions about Null, and pretty much that he's a spurg, which is wild. If you think about it in long enough terms, when it comes to people who make political content, people who cover drama, we're basically all drawing each other as soy jacks. But realistically, Kiwi Farms is Null, especially when it comes to trans people, because he had a lot of takes about trans lifestyles, trans activities. Never any opinions about the detransitioners, though. But that's kind of like a stream, that's like a mainstream thing. They don't like talking about detransitioners, and I think there was a recent
that's
60
their
minute.
Voldemort.
that they recently had a 60-minute like coverage where they basically made the detransitioners a footnote on a news story that focused more on transphobia and the trans lifestyle, and just quite literally zoomed right past actual things of what happened. And I know why they do that, because if you promote trans lifestyles, and especially trans trenders, as a thing that everybody should do, there can be no such thing as a person not being trans. When you have the dysphoria and you change, you go from a man or a woman to a man. You can't have second thoughts. What you mean? This is for life, baby. So a detransitioner that just happens to not be experiencing it, like Ryan Barnes, or the other girl that I'm thinking of. I'm trying to remember her name at the moment. It's not in front of me, but I can look it up later. Elle, that's her name. You go through examples and stories about people like Elle. You go through these stories of people like Ryan Barnes, who you probably have them as a mutual on Twitter. She goes by the name Rival Maverick now. She kind of changed it up because she wants to try and get into streaming herself. You have the story of people like, unironically, Milo Stewart, of all people. Because, of course, Milo Stewart, he, her, at the time, I guess he. I don't know if they have picked a pronoun. I'm not trying to dead name anybody, by the way, when I mention these things. I'm just, this is their name and this is information. I'm just delivering it to you. You process it yourself. Miles Stewart went through this. They went through this. There's thousands and thousands of people who started out basically being groomed unironically on Tumblr and got into this lifestyle because they were told, oh, if you do this, you can change how you feel. And of course, teenagers that are going through the things and they already have all these emotions, and you tell them, you take this nice little pink pill a couple of thousand times, you indoctrinate yourself into the culture, become like us, and you'll be happy. And then they do it and they're not happy, and then turn around and they're like, guys, I'm not like that anymore. Oh yeah, dropping them like a fucking hot goddamn anvil in the middle of a store floor, cracking the foundation of everything they were told to believe, and you leave them high and dry and basically dripping cum? Yeah, I can imagine how that'd make them feel. And then the one time, not just in like the internet sphere, because we all know this on the internet, but in the mainstream view, amongst normies, the first time they get to have the ability to speak, and it has people making it an immediate trending Twitter tag about how actually they silenced the trans voice. If you didn't already hate the trans lobby, and if you didn't hate the big gay mafia that is gay lobbyists as a whole, then, bro, you do now. There's no way that you can't. They're not allowed to have a moment to even say, we exist. And yet, how many times on a regular basis we're told that even having this conversation causes real, physical, monetizable, actual harm to trans people? I mean, yeah, I guess the truth does hurt you, don't it? You know, that shit happened. And then, over time, as I started working at these things, and as I started doing these things, both pre and post and during COOF, it has been a boulder and an avalanche rolling down the hill. Sometimes the boulder gets caught in the snow and it piles on a little bit of the shit. And then sometimes the boulder just starts banging into things. You know, people knowing who I am and somebody mentioning my name in the conversation makes something else happen, knocks something else loose, and it joins the avalanche. But it's just been momentum since then. And when I got into town, when all this shit first started, we're still talking about the COOF, by the way, guys. I'm sorry if you've been distracted. I'm just going stream of consciousness right now. Let me know if I lose you. But when the shit hit our town, there are sections of where I live where you have the liberal downtown that are full of all the college kids, and specifically the art campus. Deep, deep blue. That bitch might as well be indigo. Uptown, midtown, and trailer parks. Hard red. Might as well be fluorescent hot pink. In the middle, purple. And then a couple of places outside of that, if you go from Georgia to Alabama towards Phoenix City, red. Red as I can see. And then when you go up towards Atlanta, pretty much wherever the fuck goes. Because Atlanta is basically the southeastern LA. Everything was either, we take this super deadly serious, or fuck that shit, ain't stopping my fucking grind. But specifically in the city where I live in, you have a liberal government that basically thought that the first thing they should do as soon as they grabbed power was change our city motto from what history and heritage has preserved to "we do amazing." Matter of fact, let me pull up the fucking... while I'm talking about it, let me pull it up right fucking now. When you see this logo that they put on our fucking trash cans, you're gonna flip. Because it's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking seen in my goddamn life. But that's the first thing they thought was important for them to do on our addressing problems in our city. They thought the first thing that we should do is change all of the logos into this weird disconnect of this stupid ass corporate art style. From shit, they went to that from the original one. And let me see if I can find the original one. Can you see that, by the way?
Yes, I can.
Yes, they went from that to the only...
It looks like somebody's using that writing when they spurg on Twitter. Like it's looks like a spurg comment.
Let's see here. Consolidated government. The only reason why I'm not putting it on the screen, guys, is because if I did that, I would be unironically doxing myself. I don't... Some of you know where I live. I don't want it to be more public where I live, if you get what I'm saying, guys. So I hope you guys understand that. Ah, there it is. Yes. It is super hard to find pictures of this version anymore. Oh, I got it wrong. This is from the Chamber of Commerce, but they have this plastered on everything that has to do with the city council. What progress has preserved. Excuse me. I said it entirely wrong. There's one that says heritage, and then there's one that says progress. But they went from that to that bullshit. So,
oh, what a downgrade.
Yeah, and it's like and that's like one of the older pictures. Let me see if I can find one that was more recent before that change. Yes, this is one of the ones that were more recent before that change. Let me get a bigger blown up version of it. So they went from that version here is the first one that came before this version, and then they went from that one to this one, and then they went from this one to that garbage one. It's downgrade on a downgrade on a downgrade.
Jeez. So
that's what they considered was important. And this is the place, and this is Columbus, well, not Columbus, well, damn, there it is. Georgia is not is the state that has Stacey Abrams as one of our fucking senators. So, keep that in mind. She decides, and a lot of our public officials decide, that the most important thing to us here in the South is Black Lives Matter. And I don't give a shit about buy large mansions. I mean, you can pay money to make me buy a large mansion, but I don't give a shit about it. And have never done a goddamn thing for me. And I'm not talking about the Atlanta chapter of Black Lives Matter. Because I can actually look up Killer Mike on Twitter. I can go to him on Instagram. I can go to him in person. And I can say, hey, let me help you with an event at this chicken shop in Atlanta around this corner. And I can look at his books. He will show you. He will tell you where the money for the Atlanta chapter is going. But Black Lives Matter, the organization? Black Lives Matter, the organizations whose donations immediately get funneled into the slush fund of Act Blue that then goes to pay for Democratic senators' races and runs? That Black Lives Matter. That Black Lives Matter has never done a single fucking thing for us down here. Never have, never will. Before we start calling it buy large mansions, with the newest reveal of Patrice Cullors doing what devout Marxists do and leaving everybody high and dry, running off with the bag to secure it for her family, we called it burn, loot, murder. Because that's what has been happening with the riots when they happened in our town. It happened worse in Atlanta. To the night when they did occur in Atlanta, Atlanta went radio silent on all police stations because they said, hey, fuck the police. So the police said, fuck you. We all sit there. They sat in their cars and they listened. The cops in the town sat in their cars and listened to the radio play over the internet. I sat here at my computer, locked in here, recording the videos during the time, because this was when we were doing the first part of digital blackface with Poe running his podcast. And this was specifically why that one video of mine got flagged and was being used by his ex-producer to try and blackmail me into going onto his hijacked stream after he tried to steal it from him. We all listened and saw and watched with our own eyes the cities around us, from Atlanta to Warner Robins to fucking Hurtsboro, Alabama, Phoenix City, Montgomery, all these places, Savannah, fucking Auburn, Macon, all these cities having shit rioted, looted, burned, murders in the open street, murders in open daylight, all this shit, all of the fucking time for the 9-month period. And I already live in the city that has the highest fucking murder rate in Georgia. That's how bad it was. Nobody wants to talk about what's actually happening on the street level because all the affiliates are Fox or CNN. CNN's headquarters is here in Georgia. And that shit got raised. These are flags that should have been going up in people's heads. But normies don't know that because they're fucking using Facebook and Twitter to socially stalk people on the internet. And the farthest they know is that shit occurred. All they see is fine and peaceful. But me, I'm sitting on the internet and I can see the shit in real life. I can go out on the street and I can see the shops that are opening, getting closed down, constantly being harassed by the police, that are being used to heckle the store owners, the small business owners. I can see the hipster stores that have gone out of business because all of those hipsters decided, oh, we're not going to pay for our high-priced coffee here anymore. We have to buckle down, bro. Sorry, I understand that you're a fucking anarchist like I am too, but I guess the anarchist is going to have to get a job at the fucking Waffle House. I remember having this exact conversation with my anarchist shift lead line cook, who was upset as shit and didn't like me politically, but when it came down to it, he's like, shit, Carl, you're talking a whole lot of sense right now, and I don't like that. Because all he knew was, we believe in the movement. Antifa, we're changing the world, we're destroying shit. And me having a 10-minute conversation with him made him call his wife and say, honey, we gotta change our life. We ain't living right. We ain't living right at all. And this is this lanky-ass dude who has more muscles than I am, with all these tattoos all over his body, singing praises to the CCP and to Russia. Having to think to his head, how badly have I fucked up that I have done what the people I say I hate want? Then I see the businesses start closing. Before, I had threads on Twitter where I posted about the businesses that were either opening, closed, or were closed forever because of the lockdowns. One of the biggest ones was a Steinmart that's right across the street and a little bit down the shopping plaza from the Publix that I shop at. They were the first ones to get hit by this shit because those stores can't stay open. Because the people who would shop at them are all the people who are terrified that the world's burning. It's the middle-aged women. It's the normies that don't go outside and do anything. It's the kids that shop at the fucking Ross and TJ Maxx that can't shop at their department stores because the department store windows are getting smashed in by black activists. People who are quite literally shopping at the very same Starbucks down the street that have already done all of their COVID check shit and are more than happy to be open, but all the mom and pop stores around town, all of the Asian families that own all the Asian marts, closed. All of the Asian families that own all of the takeout businesses have to have their hours moved around or have to close outright because they can't pay for all this bullshit of being harassed by the police over and over and over and over again. Only one family, I think, was able to do that. And it happens because they have a bigger interconnected family where they're not all blood related, but they're all married within each other. You know, you have a family that owns a line of nail salons, and then you have a wife of the husband that owns that owns a bodega that sells phone cards so that they can call back home, and then he has a daughter who's married to a brother of one of the homeowners and shop owners that owns the restaurants and shit, and they happen to be homies with a person who works as a dishwasher in a business that's owned by a different Chinese family. It's like an interconnection of immigrants. But they all take care of themselves, and only they have been able to stay alive and stay open, because when one of their businesses closed, they're like, hey, let me get your sister, come help me at my place. Let me get your brother to come help me move some boxes. Let's go out and go get some construction. I remember the third month, actually, there was a group of them that went to the Lowe's and went to the Home Depot and just sat outside and waited for construction jobs, collectively. And it, not just the men, the women and kids. They're like, we will all go build this building right now if you pay us fairly. And did it. People didn't have the ability to have the power to hustle like that because they didn't even know where to start. That's the worst part. They did not know where to start. The government wasn't helping us. The government was supposed to help us, but they didn't know what the fuck to do. They didn't have the information that some people did. They at least didn't have the information that I did. And they couldn't publicly make choices because, well, what are we going to tell the public? Oh, wear your masks. Okay, what next? No businesses open from here. Lockdown. Oh shit, we're losing money. Oh my god, we are losing all of our agriculture. We have nothing. Okay, so businesses can stay open from here to here. Shit, that's not helping. No third shifts. Oh shit. Oh wow, that's worse. Because if you live here in Columbus, there is no nightlife to speak of. But we got Waffle Houses. Those Waffle Houses not being open to third shift made a whole bunch of money go towards Steak and Shake. And Steak and Shake stayed at least open till 3 a.m. Everybody was open in Steak and Shake. We had government officials that came into the Steak and Shake. And concerned citizens that were informed, they had questions, Wheezy. And they were not happy. I certainly wasn't happy. So they just avoided and ducked us. And just made choices. Stayed in their city chambers and banging on that gavel. And when it came down to actually dealing with the fact that the very same people that they're happy to take pictures and photo ops with in the Starbucks, at least this is funny enough because this came to head in fucking Atlanta. The same people who they're cheering on, the fucking Captain ACABs that had to work overnight shifts at the Starbucks, being the same people that would then smash up rival businesses and burn the Wendy's to the ground in the fiery but mostly peaceful protest. They're the same people that they're more than happy to throw all this kickback money to. And then when they don't show up for work, you're surprised that the infrastructure and the GDP of our town has gone down 1,000% in productivity? You're shocked that nobody wants to work. Really? Tell me more, Chairman. I'd love to hear it. Because having worked in the Clerk County office, I know these numbers. They really don't like the fact that we know the numbers. They don't like it when people heckle them to begin with, because, Democrats, But they don't like that I know them by name. Because when I show up, or when one of their employees show up, it's not, excuse me, concerned citizen, I understand and we're handling it. It's more like, oh shit, Adeline, well, it was difficult, They can't do that. Because it's not just, oh, stupid Trump supporters, they don't know what's going on. It's not just, stupid non-voters, you should have voted Democrat. Democratic members of the community came to snatch their fucking scalps. The only one time I've ever seen a Karen weaponize her rage and anger, except for CRT, was watching those Karens that would throw bitch fits, and would eventually sometimes be the ones throwing bitch fits about masks, start throwing bitch fits about why they need to wear masks and have to have all of this bullshit for their businesses, but the Rite Aids can remain open, the Walgreens can remain open, the Walmarts can remain open, the fucking Amazon warehouse locations can remain open, and with different rules, because they have a corporation behind them. Why is it that McDonald's can do this shit, but his around the corner mom and pop shop can't? Why is it that the downtown Dingleberry pharmacy can't be open at the times that it needs? Especially right after one of their longest working employees and a fucking, Korean War veteran died, and we bought him a fucking billboard downtown near the landings. They can't keep their fucking pharmacy open for their normal concession hours, but you can have all of these 24-hour shits, and you're letting people steal from the fucking store. On tape! On tape! You have an officer there, standing by, and letting it fucking happen. But you say, oh no, we let them do it because you see, black people have it so hard. The fuck you mean we have it so hard? Every time they steal from that store, the black employee is going to get blamed for it because you didn't do item requisition. You didn't do loss prevention. So yes, we're going to take it out of your check because that's how it works. It works like that for the Hobby Lobby. Works like that for the Michaels. Works like that for the fucking stores in general. Works like that in retail in general. And I know because I've been there. What the reality that you're telling me and what I'm seeing does not match up, Mr. Man. So I'm gonna need some details. Somebody's got some explaining to do. Somebody got some explaining to do, Lucy. And they just nothing. Just fucking nothing. The only people who are able to tell us the truth is the recruiting agencies. Places like Staffing Connections and Manpower and surge staffing that are these global places that worked to get people not just into normal jobs, but into corporate jobs. And behind closed doors, the corporate heads know what the fuck's going on. They understand. And that's the upsetting part. They know that it's like this, but they have lobbyists that are paid to ensure the status quo does not change. It'd be one thing if you were to say, oh, military cluster complex, the war of pigs have to make their money. No. The normal corporations that say Black Lives Matter know and are not concerned with the fact that they know that they are supporting a group that is protecting, unironic, home domestic terrorism, unironic, destruction and theft of property, and unironic, thieves, pigs, liars, and murderers. They ain't got a problem with it. Just as long as they get a 4% increase in their fucking profit margin. And that's it. And I don't blame them. The corporation, that is. I don't blame them for doing that, because realistically for them, that's good business. They're soulless. Why would I care about their morals? I know that they're only here to make money. And as long as they provide me a product, and the product works, then that's fine. I can't blame them for that. But I do blame the person who lives in the city who knows this and says one thing and does another. You can't live in a house next to me and put a flag on your house that says Black Lives Matter and then start saying, oh, all these Trump supporters. When you literally came to the cookout last week and Beverly served you a beautiful fucking bratwurst. What are you talking about, Diane? It's like that. It'd be one thing if it's, oh, somebody over in another city somewhere on a protest, or somebody who was a content creator, or somebody somewhere said a thing, and you saw it on Twitter, or you saw it on TikTok, and then you had opinions about it, and you said it on Facebook, and then Facebook censored you. That'd be one thing. But it's like listening to my sister, of all people, fucking yell and scream at me. I'm not sure if you saw that one, but that's something that I posted.
I did see that one.
Fucking screaming at me. And it wasn't just for that night. It was the entire month before, after, and weeks leading up to the election. Hounding me. Who are you voting for? What do you believe in? What do you think? Why do you like this? And then after me telling her, listen, I don't give a fuck about that bullshit. Why don't you? Don't you know they're harming us? No, they're not. If anything, you're harming me. I need to sleep. And then, now, being here in the real world, not in the hyper reality that is the coof, where we're still in the 9-month, no, not even 9-month, we're in the 13th month of 2 weeks to crush the curve. You have people begging, not just asking, begging and opening their mouths to accept the cum that is the government instituting fascism, because you see, Hitler's a fascist. And don't you know, Hitler drank water. And Trump drank water. Therefore, Trump mad. Orange man bad. Vote him out. Because the way that we vote out a fascist is that we vote out a fascist. You know, that person who takes control and power. We vote out our dictators, you see, here in America. We have so much freedom, we can vote out somebody who strips it. But Biden? Nah, we ride with Biden. After 50 years of being in politics, after 50 years of doing dumb shit that has led to the institution of the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, after being a part of and being the senator that penned the 90s crime bill where you called people of my complexion super predators, Miss Clinton. After 50 years, and on that seat as a senator, harassing Corn Pop of all people, as a super predator rapist. Of course he was not. And Corn Pop will be seeing you soon, Biden. I hope. I pray and hope. After 50 years of being in politics, now he's ready to fix everything. Ugh. Watching it happen in town, watching it happen in my city, in real time, that was the part that's like, nope, I just can't. I'm done. I'm beyond done. They're getting both barrels, and then I'm reloading in real time, because I can see the damage. I can see the people whose hearts are broken. I can talk to them. I can meet them. I see them with my own eyes, and they talk to me with my first name. I cannot lie about this on the internet, so I'm not even going to pretend. But I also can't talk about it all the time, because then it'll upset me more. I'm already upset as it is. I'm already beyond my limitations as it is. And we talked about that off the podcast too. But I can't cover the news on it because I don't cover political news to begin with anyways. If something happens to tend towards the political, if somebody decides to make it a thing, yeah, I can talk about it. Yeah, we can get into it. But I don't cover the news the way that Dev covers the news. When I cover the news, I cover the thing that's interesting to me about the news. And if it happens to have some political bullshit in there, it'll be in there. Whereas with Dev, love short fat otaku by the way, with Dev, he'll cover the political angle of it and he'll explain it. And I can do the exact same thing too. But a lot of the times, this shit doesn't have anything to do with political. It's just somebody who decided to claim that it was so they can have a way to shoo away the topic should it come up anywhere else. Because if you actually talk normal shit about it, if you just go through the details, go through the news articles, go through the archives of the news articles where they've changed the body of the text, where they've changed the title because they got their clickbait outrage, they don't need it anymore. Or people who, at one point during the Trump administration, were harassing and heckling. I think this was something that happened recently with a reporter, actually. Biden blew up at a reporter and said that they were full of shit, and that same reporter is somebody who, when they harassed Trump, was called super good and great. And I think there's a side-by-side somebody has. Somebody in the audience can look that up for me, by the way, because I know I saw it on Twitter yesterday. There's a side-by-side of the tweet that specific person made where it's like, Trump is such a coward for shutting down his political talks, for talking to this person. And then the other side is like, well, you see, that reporter should have known better. She shouldn't have questioned Biden. Don't you know that that's our fucking guy? It's like that. I can't
It's for me and not for thee.
It's like that, and I can't do it. So I'm gonna clip at it every time, but I'm not gonna talk about it for shit, because I play video games. I just want to play video games. And you guys make me have to be an independent news journalist because you can't do your fucking job. You don't want to tell the public the truth because you're on the fucking take. You are the people who are doing the evil, but I'm mean because I said mean jokes on the internet. And I didn't care about your feelings. So sorry. So sorry. I'll make sure I have Dianica lash me on my back 31 times just for you. You know? That was a lot of talking. Go ahead. Please.
All right. So the main reason you brought me on basically is what happened to me with COVID. And so as we said earlier, I'm in the fitness industry. And basically, March 15th, I got that EMS warning that, or is it EBS, whatever that emergency notification you get on your phone, said that we were going to go into lockdowns. So for 1 week, okay, the 1 week happened. The emergency notification comes through again, and it kept coming through again, and it kept coming through again, week after week after week, and month after month after month. And it would be in like 3-month blocks. And when we ended up being closed, I kid you not, March 15th, 2020 to January 25th of 2021. 10 literal months where I was not allowed by my state to open my practice. Now, the worst part about this is I could go and do like Zoom calls with clients or whatever it was, but I was in a plaza with the Lunardi's, which is a little like Mexican type, not quite Mexican, but not quite not supermarket. So you had people there, and you would see people look in my window, and not even 10 minutes later, the cops would be at my door to tell me that you're not supposed to be open. Well, I was allowed to record videos in my space so that I could do like Zoom calls or whatever. But it would be, they would call on you. And the fine for being open, if I was caught with clients in my building, $10,000 per incident. So I couldn't afford that. But then, so March rolls around, May, June, July. Okay. July was when our lease renewed. I looked at my business partner. He said to me, don't know what's going to happen. They're talking about closing for another 3 months. He was telling me that he can't afford to stay closed anymore. He'd used up all his savings. There was nothing left with him. I was lucky. My husband's a software engineer. I had to tighten my belt to get rid of a few things, but I was gonna make it maybe for another few months. So at that point, we made the decision that we would dissolve our partnership and he would move back home to Florida. So the beginning of August, I moved, end of July, beginning of August, he had all the stuff in storage that he took with him. And every morning, Mike's thing was he would get on the assault bike, he'd do a hit workout, and then he'd do his lifting. Well, since all the places were closed there as well, he made the decision that he was going to go for, walk run intervals on the street. And because the bars were closed, people would drive around in his area of Florida drinking in their cars. 6 o'clock in the morning. One of these people tagged him going probably about 55 miles an hour, saw what they had done, and left him to die on the side of the road. Now, if they stuck around, Mike would have lived. But they were afraid of getting in trouble because they were drunk, so they took off. It took them 4 months to find who the guy was. So now my business partner and my friend of 12 years died like a dog on the side of the road because we weren't allowed to be open. Now, he would have never been on that jog if we were allowed to have our business open, because he would have been on that assault bike like he was every other fucking morning. And not even a few months later, my friend of 27 years, Michelle, decided that 10 months of no work, isolation, she could only get, Skype meetings with her therapist, who was her medication. She didn't have access to it because she wasn't working. She lost her insurance. So after New Year's Eve, she decided that, well, you know what? I don't want to live anymore. So about a week later, her brother found her. And this is someone who I've been friends with for 27 years. Where so two people that have been major, decades-long parts of my life have left 2 huge holes in them because, well, we don't need to be open. And not only that, my business, the original aspect of my business that I had didn't exist. My brick and mortar space didn't exist. I had to put my space on hold, put my equipment in storage, and sit there and wait for months until I could reincorporate, do my thing. And there was absolutely nothing I could do. Nothing. I couldn't get any grants. I couldn't get any. I wasn't even eligible for unemployment until November. And then they opened again in January. So what the hell was the point?
And then on top of all that, to find out, oh, actually, this was a lie.
We didn't have to close in the first place. We never had to close for more than that 2 weeks in the first place. And all of the mandates and everything that we've gone through was all or fucking nothing.
And then worse on top of that, you work in the fitness department. I can at least attest for a fact that all of the businesses around here, let's see, let me look it up actually right now in real time. There's 2 of them that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Planet Fitness, and there's this other one that's in my city. It goes by the name of Orange something. I'm trying to make sure I remember it correctly.
Orange Theory. Yes, Orange Theory.
Yes!
I'm familiar with it.
Orange Theory and Planet Fitness. And I think there's another smaller place around the corner. Actually, no, there's 4 of them. Snap Fitness, Orange Theory, what the fuck is his goddamn name? Max Fitness, or Max Fitness 24-hour plus something. And then the other place. All 4 of those. The only thing that changed? They opened 2 hours later and closed 1 hour earlier. That's it.
They had in here that what they did is they put all their equipment outside. Now, a small space like me, I don't I don't have the equipment to put outside to do that because basically it's all free weights and a basic, like I had a basic CrossFit box. Like that's the kind of space that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like just it was a squat rack, a couple squat racks, dumbbells, barbells, that kind of stuff. You know, I have the plyo box and all stuff that if I put it outside, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the option of putting everything outside and then having people work on it. It's just not possible. And then you have people who haven't worked in months. How are they going to afford to? It was difficult for me to do Zoom with my clients because let's be honest, they're coming to my studio because they don't have the equipment in the first damn place.
Yep.
So they got to buy like $200-300 worth of kettlebells just to do the workouts I've been having them do right before the lockdowns happen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course they're not going to do that. And as for that, I mean, look at how much the price is jacked up. I used to be able to get a set of power blocks, but for my home use, my set of power blocks was like just a little under $500, and I have the full professional gear. You can't get them now for less than $900 because everybody wanted to buy them. And there's how long it went with the stores like Target, Walmart, every place like that department stores. Look at how their fitness section had nothing in it for months. They're just now beginning to get that stuff in. It's too little too late because, you know, these places are fine. But 24-hour fitness can put all their Nautilus machines outside and tie them together, and nobody's going to take off with them. You know, Crunch Fitness can do it. I can't. Little guys like me, there's only 2 of us that survived that in my area that I know of. Myself, although I moved to a different city, and Beast Fitness in San Jose were the only 2 that survived. That's it. The rest of us are gone. It's Planet Fitness, 24-hour fitness, Crunch Fitness, Fitness 19, which is a chain out here that's only $19 a month, which is basically a low-rent Planet Fitness. But they're gone. The little guys are gone. And if you look in the plaza where I am now with my new space, Raja, the Indian restaurant that had the best damn kebabs you'll ever have in your life, the family for generations, gone. The travel agency that used to sit next door to Raja, gone. The little consignment shop that had the funny looking teddy bear that she used to pose and do all kinds of different things. He would be dressed up and playing tennis and all. He was a local celebrity because you never knew what she was going to dress this bear statue up as next. Mm-hmm. Gone. There was a little store that sold like boutique items. Gone. It was a little. The only thing that's left is a grocery outlet and a Bass Pro Sports. That's it. Mm-hmm. Everything else is gone. The cinema shut down. It was one of those Century 21, like I forget what they had it, Cinelux, mm-hmm. where you could go in and you could just have the beer and wine is gone. Mm-hmm. The little Italian restaurant that was across the way, the stuff is still there, but they haven't reopened. But you know, they could only do takeout. They were a sit-down restaurant. The Chinese buffets, none exist anymore in my town. They're gone. In fact, the Chinese restaurant that my friend's family owned since 1947 closed down this past December because they had created a lunch buffet and they were famous around they have been a staple of my hometown for generations. Like I used to hang out with him in there. We used to do our homework in the back of that place while his grandfather answered the phone. It's gone. Mm-hmm. And it didn't have to happen. Hey, Amazon's doing fine. Mm-hmm.
The part that gets me is that because I live where I live in the South, realistically, businesses come and go all the time. Like, at least 2 of the jobs in my most recent 5 years of employment are places that literally opened up and had fucking flyers. Not proper, like, job fair searches. Sometimes they do. Realistically, no. Most of the time, the way that people get jobs, if they're not literally going onto places on social media like Facebook, and then going into Facebook groups. They'll then have employers contact them through that, or using Job, or Monster, or Indeed, or fucking LinkedIn, is they will put out fucking flyers and be like, hey, we're opening a new place here. Remember the Haru fucking drive-thru where a dude died out front? And nobody moved the body, nobody even gave the guy water, and he just roasted alive for 12 hours and a half on the street? That place? Yeah, we're putting a fucking Smoothie King there. Come through. We're doing interviews. And people will just come through and just do whatever the fuck, to the point where the hiring agencies, like Manpower and all the ones before, they have a meme. They have the SpongeBob meme of SpongeBob getting out of the chair, listed as they come through for the test, and as soon as the drug tests come out, they're like, I'm out. Because nobody can stay fucking sober. Most of it's addiction, but realistically, especially with the coof, everybody is either high, drunk, or a combination of the two, if they're not stir crazy, because what the fuck are they supposed to do? It used to be beforehand. They went to a business and they got a job and they worked that job. Maybe they fucked it up because they were just shit-faced, or they were incompetent, or whatever, you know? Or they fucked a girl at the job and it caused drama, or whatever. And I would always have a job where I dealt with the public, where I would always see these people and meet them and talk to them. And going out and actually now traveling around on my bike of all things, which, oh god, I want to talk about fucking price hikes. Bikes. Just normal fucking bikes. Even Walmart level bikes. Shit from through Amazon. Out of the fucking wazoo. You know, because you saw and you answered to it because of the day that I collapsed from wearing a fucking sweatsuit that was over fucking priced for $40 fucking dollars, and a fucking armband that wasn't worth $10 being sold for $20. Bikes have gone up so fucking much, and we're all sold out, by the way. None. Couldn't find one. Couldn't buy one in the city. And the one place I finally could buy one was at a sports center place called Academy, because I was not going to Dick's. Dick's was not going to sell me the kind of bike that I needed. I wanted to buy something simple between the price range of $150 to $250. And I eventually got something at Academy that I think is a normal riding bike. It has BMX tires on it, of all things, but it's a normal bike frame made out of a metal that's not aluminum, and cost me total $200. That bike originally was $119. And cruising bikes, the kind of bikes that you ride around places like California, the beach cruisers that you go to Pismo and buy eyes on, that you can ride down Sunset Rodeo and Pasadena.
I have one, yeah, I have one, and we bought the touring bike I have. It's a trike. It's a 3-wheel trike that we go around Santa Cruz with. It was, when we purchased it, was like $700, and my husband, of course, had to get the one with all the bells and whistles because engineer. But we paid $700 for that, and we saw them online this past year for like $1,200.
Yeah, I'm looking at that and I'm like, bitch, I'm just trying to find something so I don't have to take an Uber to work every day. Because I don't want to pay $112. I don't want to pay $100 or $200 to have to get to my work. Because the way that Uber works down here, it sits on distance, and it is also based on exactly how far from one location to another, or as a round trip you're paying for. To get to my job, it's like 9-ish to maybe sometimes 15, depending on if there's weather, dollars. But let's say it's a flat 10. 10 to get to work, 10 to get back. It's $20. My work schedule, if we have people who want to work their fucking overtime, or they have enough people to work their time shifts, is 4 days. 4 times 20 is 80. If I have to work an additional 2 days of overtime, because nobody else wants to do it, and I only get one rest day out of that work week, because my work day starts on Saturday, that is $40. That's $20 multiplied by 6. I'm not paying that. I'd rather take the expenditure hit of a bike and then start saving for the shit that I'm pretty sure is now on the way. Thanks, by the way. He's in the audience right now. Nick's in the audience right now. Thanks, by the way, Nick. I would rather save that money so I can be able to buy the expenditures for my fucking internet uses, so I can buy my fucking products and my equipment. I did not want to have to go to Academy to fucking find that shit. But I was there, That was the only one that was pre-constructed because he was going to sell me a cruiser for 150, but I would have had to wait until Tuesday. And Tuesday is the last day of the week. So I'm going to get a bike that's I have to wait for and still have to pay the money. So there was one night that I had to physically walk to work. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to get to my house and work and back. Sucked. It sucked a lot. And yet, I know for a fact it didn't have to be like that. Because when I look at the actual fitness places themselves, Planet Fitness didn't have to change a goddamn thing other than their opening time. All they did is that they went down the street to a supermarket, I think it was Walmart, or maybe Piggly Wiggly, and they bought a giant industrial sales amount of sanitizer and disinfecting wipes until they were able to get an actual industrial delivery sent to them through the corporate header. And they put those out on the machines, and they put them out on the floor, and they put them out in their premium deluxe bullshit black card section. Don't pay for the black card buys. It's not worth it. And it really isn't. It's just fucking an area with 2 massage chairs and like a back massager machine that's on like a waterbed shit. It's not worth it. It really isn't. And then they have tanning booths in the back that are also the black cards, but I don't do tanning. I'm already tan enough as it is. They have all that shit.
Oh, don't tan. Don't tan.
They have all this shit in here that you pay a premium for $20 against their original fucking sign up subscription, which is like $10. They put that shit out on the floor. They put one out over in the machines. They put one over in the free weight section. They put one over in the abduction area. They put a couple of them over in their express zone, which is where they have instructed workout sections. And they put another one in like their ab crunch section of the building. And that's it. These motherfuckers didn't have to do goddamn thing outside. Not Orange Theory, and certainly not Planet Fitness. Max Fitness, that was the place's name. Max Fitness didn't have to do that. Snap Fitness didn't have to do that. All their shit stayed indoors. All they did was put fucking disinfecting wipes and hand sanitizer everywhere. Oh. And then when it came to the actual corporate businesses, masks. That's it. At least when I was working at the factory, those of you who know when I worked there. Y'all saw what I actually had to wear for work, to work inside my machine. Why are you concerned about how clean my hands are? I'm putting my hands in dirty, filthy fucking coolant that is full of metal shrapnel. Wouldn't you be more concerned with what's going in my lungs than what's on my hands? Let alone whether or not it would be coming out of my lungs and coughed up all over your floor. You want to talk about filth and dirtiness? Why not clean the fucking factory floor once in a goddamn while? Why not clean out and break down the machines? You're worried about that shit? And of course, I told you that, but way before I ended up having my dismissal from that place. They had 10 confirmed cases, no less than 10 confirmed cases in that fucking building when I left. And I am not sure if the person who was responsible over that had to do anything to replace all of those workers. I don't know if they were fired completely or not. Because if they were dismissed from the building, they would be able to be replaced at a new job place. They would just get a new job. Because that's what the agency is supposed to do. I don't know if they literally just cut all of their contracts and said, kick fucking rocks. Because technically, that's what hiring places can do. They can just say, for no reason whatsoever, because everything in Georgia, along with places in the southeast, I think in general, are at-will contracts. At any moment, your employer can just refuse to hire you and also fire you for whatever reason, and they don't have to have an explanation for it on paper. Most people are not intelligent enough and don't have the information to be able to fight that on that level. And in these places, I'm talking to them as they're trying to sell the shit, and realistically, they know what's going on. But it's like, well, you know, business is hard. We're trying to make things work. It's hard on everybody, and we kind of want to hope that it doesn't stay like this forever. But yeah, we kind of want to know what's going on with who's in control. Does anybody know what's going on? Does anybody have a plan? And nobody's got a plan. Businesses don't have a plan.
Did you really expect Fauci to do anything else? I mean, look at how he handled the whole AIDS crisis. I was around in the 80s. I remember that quite well. I'm showing my age, but no, I totally he mishandled the AIDS crisis, and we're putting him in charge of this, and we're wondering why it became a shit show.
I think the funniest part was watching the Fauci flip-flop. The Fauci devotees were fucking hilarious. So funny. This was like watching people try to troll Trump supporters the same way they troll liberals, but different. It didn't matter left, right, or center. You have these people that are trying to defend the science, and hey, you tell me how the science evolved over 2 weeks. Even normal people, when they bring that up in conversation in public, just like, are you listening to yourself? Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth? Yes? No? Okay, explain to me. Masks are good, yes? So why do I still need to wear a mask if I'm vaccinated? Oh, vaccinated people still need to wear a mask. Why is that? Pray tell. What possibly could make that different? What story was that from? Did you show your work? Who said it? Oh, it was Brian Stelter. Okay, is Brian Stelter wearing a mask when he's out in public? No. When Biden's with his family at the fucking Washington Memorial, the man who's demanding that things be like this on federal and state property, is he wearing it? Nah, and we got you on tape, bruh. Like, come on. Come on. And then you bring Fauci out onto the public. He says one thing 1 week, and then he double backs on himself, not just on tape, in depositions, in front of Congress. He flip-flops his own opinions. And the CDC said, Fauci said, oh, well, now they said this, now they said that. And then them explaining that the vaccines are actually using the spike protein, and you're telling me, Mr. Man, you, the Biden administrator, who was a part of the Obama administration, who founded the fucking lab in Wuhan working on coronaviruses, you're telling me that you didn't know that you were injecting people with the spike protein that is the toxin of the coronavirus. You, the researcher, who was given money grants. Ooh. Not a good look.
Annoys me the most is watching the way people reacted around this, the tribalism, and what originally happened was you talked about the Wuhan leak.
Uh-huh.
You got censored off of social media. You had people like Dr. Michael Head, an epidemiologist, who was on a podcast talking about how he had been for the autopsies early on. And that entire podcast got censored by YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and for medical misinformation that 300 pages of emails said wasn't misinformation at all. We have allowed Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, Wojcicki, whatever the hell her name is, that runs YouTube. We have allowed these people to say what is medical fact and censor literal doctors from saying what is medical fact.
Wojcicki.
That is the thing that should alarm people. Wojcicki, thank you. I never remember the woman's name, but
she's forgettable.
We have allowed those people to state what's medical fact and to silence actual medical doctors from saying things that don't align with their narrative, and that's the information people are getting.
She's like a 3.5.
And I even got into an argument this week. Now, you know how that's why you'll see the circle. I don't care if you had your vaccine on mine. It was because it's spite.
Uh-huh.
But there's a thing going around Facebook right now that to log in where you're vaccinated. Now, this particular person knows that because of my medical issues that I have been. Well, she got on, my husband and I, wanting to know why we didn't have the badges on our profile. I said, because it's a fucking vaccine, I don't give a shit. There's absolutely no reason for me to put the badge on my profile. She sent people after me, like my DMs were going off for like 3 days. And finally I put that green circle around it because I was like, I don't give a shit if you have a vaccine. It's not, but it's the tribalism. It's that I am one of the people who, yes, I believe that the conversation about the vaccine should happen between has absolutely no business making that determination as to whether you get it or not. And there are legitimate reasons why people don't want it. There are people asking legitimate questions. And if you ask questions like, I'm a little worried. This came out in only 6 months. There's these issues around the mRNA vaccine. instead of working on getting people information regarding these things, it's heretic, burn her at the stake. And it's insane. It's insane. And there is absolutely unreasonable for people to be behaving this way. It's like you're questioning their religion. Is religious in nature.
Yes, exactly.
It's a fundamentalism. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
That's the sad part, actually, because it's not like a religion. It is a religion. It's a religion with tenets. It has holy scripture. It has priests. It has saints. It has a pope. The problem is, none of this shit's secular. Or rather, none of this shit's theocratic. It's all secular. They worship government officials, and they worship presidential officials like they are god kings and queens and saints that can be beatified. And once they have been beatified, they can do no harm. They can do no wrong. And they are never incorrect. And if you're ever against their god king, that means you are against the holy scripture that is their religion. And if you are saying their religion is haram, well, you better get ready for a crusade, baby, because they're about to fucking jihad you. It is sad to describe it, but it is unironically like that. But it is not like what you would expect of, say, a normal crusade. It's more like, well, I would hate to say Islam, but I am a former Islam follower, at least a moderate. It is like listening to a Wahhabi Muslim. It is like listening to, not a Sunni Shiite Muslim, but a Wahhabi, the one that's designed to destabilize Western civilization, Muslim, go around places like my home, well, I would say home civilization country of France, and what's happening right now in the UK, and you see a complete Islamization of the country, where people who are British and have British and English culture have their entire society upended to placate people who are not indigenous to the region, claiming that actually we Muslims improve everything, and we immigrants improve everything. And I'm not going to say that's not true, because it is true. Immigrants are all around you. We're the human race, not the black human race, or the white human race, or the English, diagenic American, anarcho-social communist, voting 16 do not interact, Twitter race. But we have divided ourselves down such lines that we have people that feel that because they are immigrants themselves, that means everything must service them and only them. The name Huzma comes up in my mind. The SNP official who is essentially making it so that Scotland people cannot defend themselves in legal court. Because the crime of offense, of offending a person by saying anything, not just saying words in public, not just saying words in public against the public official, saying words
in your own home,
in your own fucking home, is a problem. Oh, that has Dankula fucking spinning. And it should. It should have everybody fucking spinning. Because that is authoritarianism. Left or right wing. Or unfortunately, it happens to be all left wing. Funny how that works. But it's nothing but authoritarianism from the bottom to the top. And it goes from local to high...
Yes, I do.
Okay, reconnection successful. Lost connection there for a bit, people. Let me finish my thought. Some people would think that this kind of bullshit starts from people who are at the top corrupting everything downwards, but it is actually not. If you look at the rise of political careers of people like Sandy, fucking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, her and her rise through politics is a perfect example of how you can see that corruption starts locally and rises to public offices. They do not care and have never cared. It has always been about how can I best create my career and create that platoon upwards. You can see this amongst internet creators, because this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't want to lie because I don't want to create my career and have my entire persona be based on a lie that I don't believe in. Me? I don't care about those things. I am a hypercapitalist. I'll make money however I see fit. And if the money is legal, and if I've broken no laws, why would you care about how I made my cash? But I also take the extra step of being politically, if you want to go with it that way, or more specifically, principally, which is more accurate. I like to be principally aligned with the key tenements of what I choose to do. So if I make money off of literally anything, and I don't do it off of repeating lies from the government that want to rule over me like fascists. If I don't repeat the lie because I don't believe in it, I'm living my value. I'm speaking my truth, and my truth is the very same thing as the reality that's around me. If I'm someone like Vosh Orhans who believes that truth is downwind from power, I'm willing to repeat the lies of the CDC, I'm willing to repeat the lies of Fauci, I'm willing to repeat the lies of fucking any goddamn corporation that is censoring people tech-wise. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, because technically Facebook and Instagram are the same company. So, Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, who thinks that he can go off into the mountains and that he can holistically divide himself from his earthly material wealth, despite the fact that he doesn't have a controlling interest on the shareholders of his company. Actually, that's somebody in the Qatari government, a prince that holds that much money, and that holds that much interest control. Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, and I guess their wives now, since they have, and they will have, half their fucking wealth. All of these individuals who are causing that censorship, who are covering up people, when you choose to retell their lies, what you're effectively saying is, I'm fine with you getting crushed into the dirt, but I should maintain a platform. And I don't see that as anything else than putting the ladder up behind yourself. Because who was Vosh Orhans? Anytime years ago, except for some random fucking person who was the size of what Dev was before, who just now, belated surprise and happy for him, who just hit 100,000 subs. Vosh, years ago, was somebody who was just at the same level that I was. The same level that fucking Jake was. The same level that all these other creators were. That started from nothing and had to build up through it. For him, he chose his identity was going to be commie turned lip silk. That's his cope. But because he's told the lie that people want to hear, because he's willing to be the internet troll, and it's weird because realistically, internet trolls that are streamers are no more different than a court jester working at, say, an open court in places like, say, France, at Versailles or something. They are modern-day court jesters. We are modern-day court jesters who say what the king, and the king of our audience is realistically our audience, want to hear. He's willing to tell the lie for money, and he's willing to continue telling whatever lie is useful for money. The only thing that'll change is who he's telling the lie to. If somebody else's audience has more money, he'll try to grift onto that audience to get them. He's tried this with Dankula, and it didn't work, because he called Dankula a white supremacist. He doesn't have the ability to prove that he's a white supremacist. But he doesn't have to prove it. He just has to accuse him of it, and then say, well, you see, you post edgy things on the internet, and we know that Dankula is not we know that he's not a white supremacist. He's never said a white supremacist thing. He's never held a white supremacist position. None of his politics ever aligned to it. But
he's a better edgelord than Vosh, though. Vosh was way out of his league.
Mm-hmm. As far as Vosh is concerned, his entire goal in that, just to look at the macrocosm of this, because Vosh is a perfect example of this, because there's too many examples of it happening. His entire goal, because this was covered by Sitch and Adam, because he doesn't want to talk to Sitch and Adam. He's not going to talk to Sitch and Adam. He won't talk to Dev. He won't talk to people like me. He won't talk to Sitch and Adam because they're bigger than him. And they have a bigger audience.
Did you see that stream?
I did!
Did you see that stream where he was in the chat?
I did!
And then he's, oh my God. That was beautiful.
But he doesn't want to talk to Sitch and Adam because they're bigger than him and they have a bigger audience and they have bigger eyes and more reach than him. He doesn't want to talk to Short Fat Otaku, not because he's not bigger than him. He was bigger than him now, but only because his audience is full of people who want to see him grift and want to push people towards their level of intelligence. Because the way that Avash works is that he wants to move the open window. He doesn't want to have truthful conversations and at least convert people who are undecided. Because you're not going to convert people who believe in something and are making money off of something. Like, yes, let me convert you, Mr. Corporate Senator, who's been bought off and paid for by the military-industrial complex, and to think that war is not bad, even though I have all the facts that say war is bad, and that Trump was not a warmongering president. But you will say that he was, because otherwise, those donations ain't coming in. No, that's not going to work. It's not going to happen. And any person with rational sense knows that's not how debates are won. And even then, debate is not how debate used to be, because 2014 is when Bloodsport, talking too fast, started. And Bloodsports was never about winning over debates. It was about being an edgelord on the internet and trying to make humor out of literally talking about anything. But then it became bloody, an unironic, bloody part of it. People started dying. because of doxing. People started dying because of swatting that was only possible because of the doxing. And Vosh knows that. So instead, he will create a fake and gay leftist version of exactly that. Instead, he will accuse you of something that he knows that you're not, but it's not about proving that you are, it's about giving his audience breadcrumbs. The bread and circus of this bread tube, as it were. And the goal is to get them to talk shit about people so that they can potentially talk about him and he can talk about himself and monetize a never-ending circle of content. But he's not going to talk about the truth of things unless it's been decided that that is the truth. Now that we're allowed to watch Jon Stewart say to Stephen Colbert on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that, hey, maybe the idea is that it wasn't some bullshit Pangolian story. You know, maybe it wasn't because somebody here near the lab in China just happened to have a little bit of the flu and then, you know, a bat spat on them. Maybe something happened at the lab. That's only able to happen because they have decided that that is the new narrative. They have decided that it is no longer haram. All those people who got banned before, they're not getting their accounts back. They're not getting their businesses back. All those people who died, they're not getting their lives back. But hey, we can make money now because we've already done the Watusi two-step here. The first step was lying to you and taking your responsibility and taking your freedoms and taking your choice and taking your lives and your normalcy, or the stupid-ass word they tried to create and tried to trend to replace normalcy, back. Then they say, here, you guys have been such good little boys and girls. Ah, look at you. You have been so nice taking on that lockdown we forced against you. Here, you can have some freedom. Can't have all of it. What do you think we are, crazy? But you can have some freedom. You can go outside again, guys, but you still have to wear the vaccine. You have to still wear your mask. You can do all this shit. Come on, it's great. Come on. What do you think we are, China? By the way, don't let them see the money. Don't let them see the money that we're giving to them under the table. Okay? That doesn't exist. If you talk about that, you're a xenophobe. That hasn't changed. But yeah, you can have some freedom back. Because as far as Bosch is concerned, he's not going to talk to them if he's going to get blown out. Because all they have to do is just not cite the fact that these things aren't real, but cite the fact that they're ahistorical. They are against the way that reality works. These things did not happen at the times that you said that they did. We know that they did not. For some benefit, we have the evidence to prove that it did not. So, I don't have to attack you on a political angle. I can just pull out a piece of paper and say, is this you? 8 months ago, you said this shit about coronavirus, and now you have changed your position because now it would be beneficial, lucrative, politically expedient, and financially lucrative to do so. Is this you? No, it's not you? How about this archive from 4 months ago, where you said it on a live stream 5 times? Is this you? Oh, this is not you? Here's you 2 months ago, where you said the exact same thing again, in the view of all of the people, like Bad Bunny and Vader V, on a podcast, on Scuffed. Is this you? Oh, this isn't you? Well, how about a week ago, where you said the exact same words to the letter, and here's a transcript of exactly what you said. Is this you? That's the way to fight back against that, because they can't monetize that. Because if Vosh were to do that, he would be called out as a hypocrite, because we would play video clips of his stupid ass takes back at him. Who are you going to argue with? Because you're not arguing with me. You're not arguing with Single Player Carl. You're not arguing with Deb, and you certainly won't argue with Sargon. You're not going to argue with fucking Dankula. You couldn't argue with Dankula, even with Faraday being a moderator, so that you two did not talk over each other while you pre-script and attempt to deny his position before he even says a goddamn blessed word in his defense. You're arguing with yourself. You can have an argument with you, and I'm just going to sit here and say, is this you, over and over again, because that's all I ever have to do. Because you don't like archives. Wonder why you don't like archives. Oh, I know why you don't like archives. So instead...
It's proof.
Because it's proof. So instead, you're going to make up bullshit, and then you're going to make up these cognitive points that inside of this view of looking at the world means that you're right, and that you're never wrong. And when everybody ever calls you out, no, it's not because you're wrong, it's because they disagree with you. They actually agree with all my points, guys, but they just are so super weird. It's weird. They never want to go on and talk live to me. But then when they go on and talk live to you, you cut their microphones. And you lie about them. And you take them out of context. And then while you're lying about them and taking them out of context with things that have been proven are out of context, and you cut their microphones, while you're cutting their microphones, you're playing clips that have been edited to make them look back in front of an audience that has no care. Because they know, your audience knows that you're lying. That's the key part. Like, I'm over here on step 1 through 3 and explaining it, but the foundation of it is, their audience knows that they're lying. They know that they're lying because it's not about telling the truth. It's about creating the material that can be used to then cite a Wikipedia article. It's about the fact that you created a video that will become, by the process of cytogenesis, truth. Because if you repeat the lie long enough, people will believe that it's truth, especially if they've never seen any other position other than yours. There is the mainstream, which is not exactly for that side of opinion, but then you have the mainstream opinion of what's allowed to be existent, and then you have the position after that. Their position follows the mainstream, so algorithms on places like YouTube will promote them because, hey, they're large, they have an audience, and they create content that talks about mainline news, and we don't have to censor them because actually they're repeating all of our lies too. So we'll promote them, and we'll propagate their shit on other websites. And because people are following them, and they use Discord to basically downvote the opinions of videos from people's channels they don't like, they will pick on those people constantly, and they will constantly harass them through making content to take them out of context. And then when the person defends themselves, they will monetize the very defense itself and say how actually they're not telling the truth. They're actually a handmaiden. They're a handmaiden to all the bad things in the world. And you're a handmaiden to all the good things in the world. Support my content. That's that. And that is unfortunately where we're at right now. Where in order to fight that, in order to fight the disinformation, you don't just have to fight the journalist that's paid off by the corporation, but you also have to pay off and beat the bootlicker who is more than happy to continuously monetize the thing until it blows up and doesn't work. Because in the case of AOC, bringing it back around, AOC puts out a fucking thing that says, hey, my abuela in another country, oh, ay, Dios mío, my abuela, her home is breaking down. You can see that the ceiling is crashing into the floor. So Matt Walsh says, okay, bet, $100,000, here you go. That's enough money to be able to fix up your abuela's life and fix up all the other people on the island, right? Here you go, Sandy, take it. It's money, it's free, it's yours, have it. What does AOC do, guys? Multiple choice. Did she A, take the money and say, absolutely, thank you, and this is proof that actually we can reach across the aisle and be able to solve problems for each other? God damn. You know, I don't know about you, Matt Walsh. Sometimes I think you're an alt-right troll, but today you're right. Did she B, take the money and then say nothing else and then just act as though it did? What money? Oh, that money. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Anyways, you're still a Nazi. Or did she C? Did she C? Say, no, I refuse to take your money. Actually, you're harassing me. You're politically harassing me by solving the problem. The state should fix the problem. But the state's causing the problem, Miss AOC. I know that! That's why we need more of it! A, B, or C? Which one did she choose, guys? It was C. It was C. It was C. It was C. It was fucking C! Because there's layers to this, okay? There's layers. I'm going to take you through it. This is how Carl looks at news stories, by the way. This is how every organization looks at news stories. Layer 1. AOC has a problem. She blames the state. Oh, if only the state could fix the problem. And because the state didn't fix the problem, we need to have more people in politics that promote my position and continue to do the thing that causes the pain and tragedy and horror. Oh, how bad. And because it's bad, that's how you know we need to try communism and socialism, because it hasn't been tried correctly before. We know it's been done before over there, but that wasn't real socialism. That wasn't real communism. I'll make sure it's correct. Matt Walsh, second layer. Matt Walsh creates a fund on GoFundMe. I think it was GoFundMe or Kickstarter. I did not figure out which one it was. I just know that he made the campaign and they got a whole bunch of money overnight, and then it was closed the next day. Because if you do not have,
Thank you.
if you do not have a contributor to accept the money and the person says they do not want to have it, the money is immediately redispersed to all the people who donated. That is one of the legal rules they have to do, because otherwise it would be embezzlement and it would be theft and fraud. But Matt Walsh, second layer, sets up the GoFundMe, or the crowdfunding source. They get $100,000. Life-changing money for somebody who's supposed to be living in third world squalor with broken and destroyed parts of their home. Raises it overnight and says, here, take it. Layer 3. AOC then claims, no, my abuela shouldn't get this money because you're just using this to politically harass me because you don't like me politically and I'm your rival. Step 4. Place 4. And this is where the story ends for most people. The money is then returned to all the people who donated, and then article after article after article after article after article after article after article, from mainline news to independent journalists to fucking people like Vosh Johans on the internet, and eventually people like myself, and people like Dev, and people like Dankula, and people like Sargon over at the Lotus Eaters, because he doesn't make shit for Sargon of Akkad anymore. He occasionally streams, but he's mostly is focusing on podcasts of the Lotus Eaters, and he should. All of them cover the news story. AOC refuses to pay money for Abuela. Abuela down bad. Catastrophic. Apocalyptic. Eldritch. But, step 5. This is the 5th level. That's the most important part. They forget steps 1 through 4 and have declared that step 4 is reality. Steps 1 through 3 is what we call hyper-reality, ladies and gentlemen. They report on hyper-reality, and they use it to then promote it into reality. Steps 4 through 5 is what you will physically see. And I can promise you, if you are a listener of mine and you're a shitposter who's following any of these people that I'm mentioning, you have seen these news stories. You have seen the real-time coverage. It starts on the internet. But then, because of the fact that all the people who are on the internet are also pundits that are covering on their own channels and on their own organizations and in their outright concerns are just like Andy No, or Tim Pool, or Sargon, or Dankula, or me. Because we are people who are both presenter and organization, when we say something, it's usually also an action that can spawn something to happen. AOC, as a public official, is somebody who can say something on Twitter and can have entire people quite literally start the cycle of cancel culture. And realistically, what she tried to do was claim that Matt Walsh was trying to use cancel culture to attack her. She was being harassed by somebody who wanted to use a personal problem to offend her. But there's 2 stories here. The first story is this exposes that AOC is a grifter. Because if she's getting money that's going to help her family, why would you say no? Do you hate your abuela? Is that the problem? Why would you deny the money? Unless, B, second level of the story, actually, the problem is that they worship the state. It has always been statism. They always have wanted the state to be in control so that when they're in power, they can harass you. They can use the police to enforce their lockdowns. They can use the Congress chambers. They can use the SCOTUS, or attempt to use the SCOTUS. How many times have they tried to expand the SCOTUS now at this point under Biden? 3? 4? I stopped counting after attempt number 2. But they want to try to use SCOTUS. They want to try to use the House of Representatives, at least with minority leaders and majority leaders and Speaker of the House Pelosi, voted in for, what, the 5th time in a fucking row? They want to use all of these engines of your government to silence you. But then when you come after them, put a stop to it. You're not supposed to win. The poors aren't supposed to win. The people who are not part of the political party that is ruling like dictators are not supposed to lose. You're not allowed to win at the stock market, because if you win at the stock market, actually, that's market manipulation, GME and AMC. You're not supposed to get money. You were supposed to get short-sailed into fucking poverty, and then we were supposed to use hedgies to make our money back on dividend profits that the poors were never supposed to learn about. You're not supposed to know about the stock market, because if you can get out of poverty and you can become rich like us, you no longer have to care about what we have to say. Because it's not about fuck you or fuck her money, it's about fuck China money. Because the people who originally took fuck you money no longer can say fuck you to China. because they're all entertainers. They're all publications. They're all in the means of business and news reporting. For them to say
Oh,
fuck
that thing of John Cena, though. Oh my God, that thing of John Cena was painful. Oh, that was. Oh,
You can't see me, more like you can't see T. I'm in this square. But yeah, it's like that. It's straight up like that. And it's every part of industry, because that's what's happened. Politics has gotten into every single part of the industry. You thought it was just activists? No, they were always political activists and plants. You thought it was weird that we have so much shit happening with Twitch? No, it was always like that with Twitch. It just started in the beginning and nobody wanted to talk about it, because whenever it was talked about, we didn't talk about the fact that there are people who are constantly in the news for the same shit again, over and over again. No, it was, excuse me, Mr. Man, what, do you hate women? Excuse me, the only reason why you're talking is because you're jealous of us. The only reason why you're talking, Miss Lady, is because you're upset because I have bigger boobs than you. Despite the people talking are people who have fake tits. Unless, of course, you're talking about Zombie Unicorn. Those are natural, and it's unfortunate because she shouldn't have them. Big boobs should not be on a person who is dishonest and hates other women's bodies. That's my hot take of the stream. I mean, hot take number 500. But anyways, that's how it is. And all of this shit happening at the same time is attempt after attempt after attempt for people to wake the fuck up. It sucks, really, honestly, because from the position of just a content creator, I hate using that word, but that's the only way to properly describe myself if we're using proper titles. As a content creator, I have to look at the news, and then I get to see the blowback of what happens because of it. And because I interact with my audience, their feedback tells me about what they have an interest in. I have an interest in it as well, but to see this shit happen, and then see how people interact because of it, the people who they just don't know, they're being disserviced. And every time someone goes along with the bullshit and says, okay, I'm not going to push back against it, but I will take money and laugh about it. No, say their names. Say their names. Like Ashley Babbitt. She wasn't a fucking insurrectionist. She was unarmed. She was gunned down like a goddamn dog. But no, the insurrectionists that you now have on tape destroying and climbing through the window, very obvious Antifa members who were actively being led by a member telling them what to do through the window at the fucking White House. The ones that were on the lawn, where at the same time AOC claims that she's having a meltdown because she's being hunted when you're nowhere near the fucking state mall in the first place. An hour of this happening before Trump even finishes his speech, before you even censor him off of mainline news. That shit? Come on. Either you're lying then, you're lying now, or you were always lying. And to find out that they were always lying, that will shake somebody's world up. Guaranteed. Because it was like that for games. It was like that for the Goober Gay. It was like that for the time after the Goober Gay. You know, current year -7 or -8. I think it's actually going to be an 8-year anniversary at this point in 2021, right? I don't remember anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8 years. 8 years of the Gamer Vietnam War, where gamers are supposed to be dead, but they're not. But gaming definitely is dead. I'm tired of seeing feminists claim that they are always infatuated with what was the fucking headline that they covered for Strangers of Paradise? Normie dude bro something. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up from Kotaku.
I'm not familiar with that headline.
It was a piece that was covered by a person who was having a regular one talking about Strangers of Paradise, and it was something really fucking dumb. And they said something stupid inside of the article itself. Hold on, I'm gonna try and go find it. And this fly that keeps flying around my fucking head, that's just in my face constantly. I've been trying to kill it with my towel this entire time, and it just won't die! Kinda like this bullshit! Hold on, where is it? Fucking, let me look up Strangers of Paradise. No, not that. God damn, their page is so fucking disorganized. Come on. Strangers. Come on, I'm typing. Wow. This shit's broken. Strangers of Paradise. Or Stranger of Paradise. Okay, that's not working fast enough. Going to Bing. Strangers of Paradise Kotaku. There we go. What did it do? No. Nope. That's definitely not the title that I saw. I probably have to look it up on Twitter. Hold on. Let me open my Twitter browser. Sorry for the dead air, folks. I have to fucking see this. I have to fucking go find this. Because I saw it at work last night and it was dumb and I thought I saved it in my bookmarks, but I didn't. Where is it? Speaking of, did you watch E3, by the way? I didn't.
Bits and pieces. I just watched some coverage of it, but it was basically the same thing as gamers are male and toxic, and minorities aren't represented. Woke, blah blah blah. Pretty much, from what I've seen. So
I found it. And to speak on E3, I'm pretty sure Nintendo won. I'm pretty sure Kazuya and Smash and the reveal of SMT5 pretty much broke the internet collectively. Cause goddamn, I want to fuck that femboy. I mean, I'm not gonna cap. He's beautiful as shit. Like androgynous as fuck, and then he has this long blue fo- Oh, that's probably why the game took so long. They had to take a while to figure out how they were gonna render his hair. I approve. But no, I found it. Final Fantasy Origin normie fuckboy scores more stylish gear as you play. Ah, yes. And we're going to go ahead and open up webpage archive. And I'm going to put this in there. And we can actually read this in real time if you want to. Would you like to?
sure.
Okay.
Why not?
I think we're jumping through topics as it is, but pretty much we're of agreement with, well, how stupid this shit has been with COVID. Anything concerning COVID has just been an entire shit show from the beginning to the end. Every single person.
Yeah, it has been.
The most I can say before we move on to another topic, and we'll probably go back to it again at some point if it becomes relevant, but the thing that everyone should do, go to the midterm elections and vote out every single Democrat and Republican. Not just Democrat. Got Republicans that are betraying you too. Go to the fucking polls in your local elections and win your state houses. Because if you look at the federal and you only think the federal's the one that matters, no, it's not. You need to vote locally in your state government, locally in your city government, and locally for your general officials. Because if you don't ensure that they are for grassroots support of the place where you fucking live, they will always sell you. Always. But anyways, go ahead and grab this link.
I've got it up now. Final Fantasy, yeah, from Kotaku. I've got it up now. I was able to look at it on Twitter.
Yeah. Let's see here. I went and got an archive because I'm not gonna let people fucking click on this shit. I am not gonna do that to my audience. I'm not gonna make them have to fucking look at Kotaku. Let me just put that in the chat so everybody can follow along. Final Fantasy Origins, normie fuckboy scores, more stylish gear as you play. Written by Ian Walker. Stranger of Paradise leads, still looks lame, but at least his fit improves. That's cope. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins main character looks completely out of place, but here's some good news from the newly fixed demo, because I know they complained about the demo was unplayable. His wardrobe quickly expands to include clothes and accessories that better fit the setting. And I know that that's weird, because when I saw the clips about Strangers of Paradise, basically I went onto Twitter and I saw everybody kept saying the Chaos meme, You know, he wants to consume chaos. He wants to fight chaos. And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But people kept replying to me with the meme. And I have this rule ever since Smug Roko that if people do not answer a direct question where I am legitimately inquisitively asking a question that I want answered, and all I get back is meme replies, and nobody wants to answer it because it's like, oh, you don't know? I just don't care. I'll delete the thread, and then I will block any person who continues to troll through it, because I interpret that as trolling, as weird as that might sound. And the reason why is because I want to laugh too. I can't laugh if I don't know the context. Otherwise, you're just saying shit, and that's basically noise. And what would I do if every single time I asked a question, somebody just posted noise at me? I consider that spam. So I would delete it and block it. And if they kept doing it, I would assume that that's trolling, because clearly I must have done something that triggered this. So if you don't tell me what the trigger was, and if I don't know what the context is, and you won't tell me, why should I care? That's basically why that is. It's not to do with hatred or of anything or anything. It's just, I don't have the energy to do it anymore. I don't have the energy to fucking go 50 fucking rounds with people who want to have brain damage. Like, okay, you want to, you're like that. Okay, have a good day. It's just me. But I saw it, and I'm like, oh, he looks weird. This looks like something Nomura came up in his head, just to fuck with people, but it's not the Amano design. Because all of the original Final Fantasies, I think 1 through 6 are the ones I'm thinking of. They all have that very, very bizarre, but aesthetically pleasing design to them. You know, like looking at Griffith of Berserk kind of things. They're not anachronistic. It's more like exceptional high fantasy. Especially if you're thinking of the designs of the Warrior of Light that was made by Amano. That's what you would usually think Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 look like. And that's normal. Because the story wasn't really all that fleshed out, and you're already dealing with the concept of high fantasy, because Final Fantasy 1 was supposed to be the last Final Fantasy. That was why it was named Final Fantasy. And then we had the asymmetrical clothes designs being introduced into 7, and then reintroduced again and made even stranger in 10 and 10.2. 10.2 might as well have just been an experiment for them to then make the reason for 13 to be a thing. 13 did it. 13.2 did it. Lightning Returns was literally nothing but that for Lightning. But comparing it to between this and, say, Lightning Returns, which is a game that I unironically like a lot. And I don't know why that is. It's kind of like if they took Lightning and they made a protagonist that is like the meme of the mid-2000s avatarless, faceless white male, but you made him really, really fucking angry with a buzz cut. That's it. And that just looked jarring to me, because like, oh, this isn't Final Fantasy. You know, it's not somebody like Noctis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I imagine, because I haven't seen all the designs yet, and I'll look into it as it goes, because once that new part gets here, oh boy, am I going to get to work at my new computer. But looking at it, if what they're basically trying to say, because I think I saw this news title and I made a tweet about it, and I said something like, translation, video game character for the first time ever actually gets clothes by playing the game and not with microtransaction, journalist mad. I think I said something to that effect. Yeah, that's fine. If he gets clothes for playing through the game, and it's not another fucking campaign, like Avengers, because they're still selling those gums at my work. The ones that you have to buy the 5 gum in order to be able to get a quick QR code or a fucking text code to be able to unlock something in the game. If it's not that, bro, I'll buy 2 copies. What you mean? It's just so dumb. That's the thing that they'd be worried about. But let's keep reading. So, Stranger in Paradise's Final Fantasy Origins main character looks completely out of place, but here's some good news from the fixed demo. His wardrobe quickly expands to include other characters and accessories that better fit the setting. Stranger in Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, god damn, that's a name, is a Team Ninja developed Souls-like that takes place in the world of the original Final Fantasy. Huh. Ninja Team developed Souls-like. I hope It's not. Oh, I know who he looks like. He looks like Dante from DMC Devil May Cry. Ah! Okay. Well, the excitement of E3 2021 announcement was dampened considerably by the game's sensational hero, a casually dressed group led by a boring, chaos-obsessed dude named Jack, who looks more like a Paul Walker stunt double than a Final Fantasy protagonist. I have a feeling like this article is about to get very hateful very fast.
Yeah.
After getting a chance to play Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, that's a dumb name, I'm just going to call it SOP. After getting a chance to play SOP, however, I'm happy to report that Jack, as the playable character, eventually begins to look like he belongs in the world of Final Fantasy. While he starts out in a pretty basic shirt, jeans, and boots ensemble, Kotaku editor-in-chief Patricia Hernandez called about as normy as a 7-Eleven parking lot. He soon loots a wide variety of clothing from the game's monsters and treasure chests. Like, look at this guy. That's a Final Fantasy-ass fantasy character. At least it matches, and there's a picture of the actual character design. And I'm looking at it, and this doesn't look any different than, say, maybe, like a futuristic version of Zanarkand, but not destroyed by Sen. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. It's like, you got your anachronistic shoulders design and a big-ass sword on his back, yes, but it looks like what a normal person would wear if Zanarkand was not flooded and if it was still a thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look out of context for what the game seems to be.
It's like any
At least
person.
from what I'm showing from the screenshot.
It doesn't look any different from Final Fantasy XIV. I'll put it like that. It looks like a character designer.
Yeah.
So what? I don't know what's the problem. Well, I know what the problem is, but what's the fucking problem? As a Final Fantasy character, at the very least, it matches the aesthetic direction of modern games like Final Fantasy. Oh, okay, here we go. It matches the aesthetic direction of modern games like Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy VII Remake, which mix real-world fashion with the more fantastical elements for which the series is known. That's not actually an explanation. That doesn't make sense. Because the reason why Final Fantasy 15 looks the way it does is because you're putting everything in a more modern setting than it's ever been before. Like, modern enough that there are cars. Like, you do have cars in something like Final Fantasy VII, you know? But the problem in the consistency here is that that's an alternate world. It's not real life. And nor does it need to be taken in a aesthetic direction to modernize them, because using the statement, it matches the aesthetic direction of modern games, means that the aesthetic, it's basically the writer saying, the games should move in an advancing aesthetic direction that modernizes them, rather than being the world that the designer creates and makes up. It's like if I said, yes, we should have a remake version of Final Fantasy, but we should remake the game and make it modern. That's what it's saying when it says that sentence. You're telling me we don't need to have the Amano designs of Final Fantasy. We should have a new remade version of Final Fantasy, designed by people like Anita Sarkeesian. We should have designs that respect women and their bodies. But the men, yeah, they can wear all the happy, horny shit they can. But you see, it's different because we are doing things the modern way. We've never sexualized men like this. That's what I'm hearing when I hear and I read sentences like that. It's bullshit. And we know that it's bullshit, but more importantly, Final Fantasy VII Remake is kind of bad. And I don't mean like from the aesthetic direction, I mean like, it's shit. Like, this is not a remake. This is a sequel. This is a game that was made for people who have 50 billion pronouns in their bio. They might like it because they've never played Final Fantasy VII for themselves the first time. I know that I have. Done it at least 4 times. And it's like, this, why? Huh? It's a head scratcher, to say the least, as I scratch my head. But it's like, in order for you to say this, you have to hate video games, is what I'm saying. And not just like old video games, you have to hate designing video games. Because I went to school for CPSC Games Track. Because sitting down in Blender and you're like, okay, let me design a new character from scratch. You have to come up with what they look like. You have to come up with the clothes, you have to come up with the fashion style, and then you have to come up with an in-world reason why they would do that. It's like if you were to tell an actor, hey, we have hired you to perform this character. Here's your clothes. And from the clothes that they give you for the wardrobe, you have to put together something of an ensemble that says, okay, this is this character. Like, think of the clothes you're wearing right now. Would you be able to explain what led you to buy all the pieces of clothing that you wear? Probably, you know? I went up to the store. This looked cute. I liked how this fit on me. I went and I saw this at I went and I saw a woman who was wearing this exact piece of jewelry, and I thought, oh, I had to have it. Or that exact skirt, or that exact blouse. Or I bought, this ring was something that was given to me as a gift, and I've always had it for years, and I never decided to take it off. It's things like that. The designs that are iconic for Final Fantasy VII worked because they were striking, they are memorable, and people can look at that and say, oh, that's Cloud Strife's armor. Oh, that's Squall Lionheart's necklace and his gunblade. That, or even especially with the crossovers of Kingdom Hearts. Oh, those pants, the red poofy shorts, those are the Sora Kingdom Heart 1 shorts. And then this design here, that's his Kingdom Hearts 2 design. And then this is his Kingdom Hearts. You can recognize them. Looking at this, if what you're trying to say is that he just looks like a person who's forgettable in a video game, yeah, maybe. A little bit, kinda. But I wouldn't think anything of it, because I play video games, and that's the last thing I think of as a concern. I'd be more worried about what is the thing about his game story. What's the plot of the game? Does he get in-game clothing that replaces the clothing I put on him? Like, what's like, that's the thing that I think would be important here. I'm not trying to laboriously stretch it, like, beyond its concern, but you can at least see how a normal gamer's brain works versus a journalist's brain. Yes?
Yeah, and when it goes further on, what they say at the end about how no one wants to play Final Fantasy game as their sister's first scumbag boyfriend after she left for college, sounds like they're
What?
Sounds like a little projection.
What? I didn't even read down that far! Whoa! Wait! No! Wait! Hold on! Where are we right now? Wait, I have to read this. I'm also a big fan of the base match, though. I don't care about that bullshit. When optimizing my job for Alliance. Ooh, they have multiple jobs? Oh! I can have multiple final... Ooh, I wonder how many jobs they have. Can I make him a red mage? Down, Carl! We can worry about that later. We have bullshit to read!
It's the second to the last paragraph.
This final assemblage of equipment is probably what folks were expecting upon hearing the phrase Final Fantasy Souls-like. But you don't know what people expect when they hear Final Fantasy Souls-like. It literally just means Final Fantasy with its skull skin on top of it. Stupid face, blah, 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 blah. Look, I'm not saying any of these outfits are particularly good. Many of the clothing options I've seen so far lean away too happily from Final Fantasy veteran Tetsuya Nomura's tendency to festoon every character in his games with superfluous straps and buckles. Sure, but I also believe Stranger of Paradise would have enjoyed a much better reception from fans as Square Enix revealed the game with the lead looking like 30% less fuckboy. Nobody wants to play Final Fantasy game as their sister's first scumbag boyfriend after she left for college. Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Projection there.
Whoa! Pause!
Oddly specific.
Time out! Roll this shit back behind me again. Nobody wants to play Final Fantasy game as their sister wants to play a Final Fantasy game as their sister's first scumbag boyfriend after she left for college. Ian Walker, I have some questions. First off, who's your sister? Secondly, why are you telling me this detail in a story about Final Fantasy? And number 3, editor, why did this make final print? So, he wrote this story. He wrote this news article story for Stranger of Paradise. His editor read it. His typesetter read it. The webmaster read it. The editor read it again. It went to the editor-in-chief, and they said, yes, this is the bit. Post it! No! No! My sides! Wheezy, my sides! I'm wheezing, Wheezy. I can't.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, what the hell?
See, this is the shit why I said I can't. This is exactly that shit on when I say I don't. I won't, and I shan't, and I shall not. Oh, and y'all niggas wonder why y'all losing money. Oh, y'all niggas wonder why you're losing money.
I mean, did this guy beat him up and take his lunch money? Is that what?
Oh, shit. Oh. Oh. Woo! I can't feel my side. Oh, on that note, we're gonna have to finish up this stream, guys. Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Please! It went from my back to my foot. Where are the fried chicanery? I am Carl, holding it down for myself and Charza. And we will see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Same Carl time, same Carl channel. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I have to stand up. It still hurts too much. Oh, this is real news journalism. Oh, this is real games journalism. Oh my god, I can't. I fucking can't. Oh, shit.